Chapter 891. She had never worn a sailor suit in her entire life. In the past, she heard that only schools in Japan had this kind of clothing, but she didn't expect Lanqing University to have it too. Yeah. Xiaofan looked at Ling Qianyu's fair thighs and couldn't help but let his imagination run wild as he answered absent-mindedly. Although he had already seen her body, he didn't expect this little girl to have a different flavor in a sailor suit. It was especially tempting. What are you thinking about? You're almost drooling. You look like a pig, so disgusting. Cheng Menjing said with a face full of disdain. She muttered in her heart, I don't see Xiaofan staring at me like this when I usually wear a short skirt. I really don't know what's going on in his head. Stinky pervert. Cough cough. Everyone loves beauty. How can it be called disgusting? This is called appreciation. Xiaofan subconsciously swallowed his saliva and weakly defended himself. Humph. Stop it. I think you're just being cheap. You must have feelings for senior sister Ling Qianyu. Otherwise, why would you sit in the same school bus as her? Cheng Menjing snorted and said in a low voice. Didn't I follow you up? Xiaofan said with an innocent face. However, he still withdrew his gaze and stopped staring at Ling Qianyu. Otherwise, the miss would definitely explode. TSK. Only a ghost would believe you. Cheng Menjing gave Xiaofan a big eye roll and turned her head to look at the scenery outside the bus. She couldn't be bothered to bicker with Xiaofan anymore. Half an hour later, a group of school buses stopped outside the funeral parlor. Students from different majors were looking for their majors' counselors to sign in. Meanwhile, Xiaofan and the others directly signed in the freshmen's books. Anyway, as freshmen who had just entered the school, it didn't matter if they came or not. No one would purposely check on them. Huh? Are Shuigao and Zheng Shiding from the XX major here? Basically all the students had their names taken. One of the counselors with the surname Zhao took a few steps forward and shouted, Are Shuigao and Zheng Shiding here? If you don't come, your points will be deducted. After shouting for a while, Counselor Zhao still didn't see the two appear. He shook his head and was about to write down their names when he heard a loud engine sound coming from afar. Everyone looked up in surprise when they heard the sound. On the road not far away, a red Ferrari sports car and a black Lamborghini sports car were driving over at lightning speed. The two cars seemed to be competing with each other as they advanced side by side. Then, with a beautiful drift, they stopped steadily in front of the funeral home. The car doors opened at the same time, and Shuigao and Zheng Shiding jumped out of the two cars. Their movements were synchronized, and they both took something out of the car and quickly ran towards Counselor Zhao. Wait. Counselor Zhao, please be lenient. I only went to prepare the clothes. I was not absent. Please don't give me a demerit. Shuigao ran until he was out of breath. He was so tired that he looked like a grandson. His skin, which was originally like ice cream, was now as white as paper. I'm not absent either. Please be merciful. Zheng Shiding was also in a hurry. He ran to Counselor Zhao and panted heavily. Shuigao. Zheng Shiding. Are the two of you deaf? Didn't you hear what the radio said? Counselor Zhao looked at the two of them, and his eyes were about to bleed. He shouted at the top of his lungs. I heard it. Didn't they ask us to wear morning clothes to show our respect to our classmates? If it wasn't for the custom-made clothes, why didn't I catch the bus? Shuigao replied with some confusion. Then, he subconsciously glanced around and was stunned on the spot. They asked you to wear the school's uniform. Who asked you to wear morning clothes? Look at you guys, you even made a banner. Don't you think it's embarrassing enough? Counselor Zhao was so angry that he almost fainted when he saw the banner on the two's shoulders. He clenched his teeth and said word by word. Didn't the radio say to wear morning clothes? This. Zheng Shiding also realized that something was wrong. The other students around him were wearing the school's standard uniform. Only he and Shui Gao were different. They wore morning clothes and wore morning clothes. Their bodies were covered in white cloth, and they even had 2 banners made for them. Oh my God! Are these 2 guys' heads pierced? Do they think they have to wear morning clothes at the funeral parlor? That's right. I think they're stupid. They can be considered the 2 weirdos of Lon City University. Oh my God, are they here to mess things up? Can they mess around like this just because their families are rich? They're too disrespectful. I'm going to take photos and post them on campus, WeChat Moments, and Weibo. I'm going to expose these 2 idiots' shameful acts. The surrounding students were a little angry. They took out their phones to take photos of the 2 and kept criticizing their behavior. It was supposed to be a good farewell ceremony, but these 2 actually made such a mess. Wasn't this not letting people leave with peace of mind? Counselor Zhao was so angry that his face turned purple. He pointed at the 2 and scolded while trembling, "Go back and call your fathers over. I'd like to ask them how they managed to raise sons like you. This is a disgrace to the culture. They must have gone crazy from wanting to be famous. They actually did something like this. Don't they know what kind of environment they're in? What 2 idiots!" Someone in the crowd suddenly shouted, making the others even angrier. How could Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding not understand that they heard wrongly? The 2 were very embarrassed. They wished there was a hole in the ground to hide in. They stood there not knowing what to do. Although there were spare clothes in the car, they were surrounded by angry students and couldn't get out at all. Damn it! They're really too much. They're simply smearing the face of us Lon City University students. If we don't beat them up, we'll be letting down student Lu who passed away. Someone in the crowd shouted. Following that, 2 whooshing sounds were heard. 2 bricks flew over and accurately hit the heads of the 2 filial sons. Ah! Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding howled in pain and held their heads. They were both martial artists, but they couldn't understand how their heads could be smashed by bricks. Blood flowed out uncontrollably. Right. We must beat them up. Everyone, let's go. The eyes of a few male students in the front row turned red. They waved their fists and took the lead to rush over. The rest of the students were also in high spirits. They swarmed over and started punching and kicking the 2. Don't hit me. Ouch. Shui Gao could only feel the overwhelming number of punches and kicks coming at him. He could only cover his face with his hands and roll on the ground. Spare me. I was wrong. Ouch. Zheng Shiding still wanted to escape. However, the moment he lifted one of his legs, he was instantly knocked down. His begging voice was quickly drowned in the crowd. The few teachers present didn't react at first. Later, they realized that the situation wasn't good. They quickly rushed into the crowd to maintain order. If Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding were beaten up, the school wouldn't be able to escape responsibility. In fact, the ones who were really beating people up were the ones who took the lead. The rest of them were just stabbing and kicking occasionally. Therefore, the chaos at the scene was quickly brought under control. A few teachers pulled Shui Gao and Zheng Shiding out of the crowd and covered them as they left. These students are too cruel. How can they hit people? They even hit them with bricks. What if they accidentally killed them? Cheng Menjing, who was standing in the distance, frowned and said with lingering fear. She had always disliked this kind of violent behavior. Therefore, she didn't go near them. They are clearly disrespecting the dead. If they are beaten to death, they should be directly sent to the funeral parlor. Anyway, they are at the entrance. It will be easy to carry them in. The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up. He smiled coldly and said, "Huh. That's not right. I seem to have seen the 2 bricks fly in from outside the crowd. Could it be? Cheng Menjing held her chin and thought for a while. She suddenly raised her head and stared at Xiao Chen. You were the one who did it, right? I seem to have sensed a trace of essence energy coming from your body. Were you the one who threw those bricks? No matter what, Cheng Menjing was also a cultivator. Her 6 senses were quite strong. She didn't pay attention to it before, but now that she thought about it, she could naturally feel that something was wrong. Oh, it seems that you have made a lot of progress. You even know how to use your divine sense to explore the surroundings. You are indeed a good disciple that I have taught. Xiao Chen nodded seriously. He seemed to be very satisfied with Cheng Menjing's performance. Go to hell. I am not your disciple. I am a self-taught genius cultivator. No, I am an invincible super genius cultivator in the universe. Cheng Menjing said with a proud face. Well, you are a genius. Looking at the other students who had calmed down and began to line up one after another, walking into the funeral parlor to pay their respects, Xiao Chen said, Miss, let's go in too. Cheng Menjing didn't object. She had just been praised by Xiao Chen and was in a very good mood. She had already forgotten her previous suspicions and obediently followed him to line up at the back of the line. The entire funeral ceremony lasted for several hours before it ended. The school still sent the students back to Lon City University by bus. By the time they arrived at the school, it was already dinner time. Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing were tired after running around for the whole day. The 2 of them went to the cafeteria to eat something before returning to their respective dormitories. As soon as Xiao Chen entered the door, he saw Jia Muzhen sitting on the bed. In his hand was an ancient martial arts manual, and he was reading it with great interest. Xiao Chen casually greeted him. He felt that he was unbearably tired from the past few days. He couldn't be bothered to look at the manual in detail. He directly went to his bed and fell asleep. Dong, dong, dong. Not long after he lay down, Xiao Chen was awakened by a series of knocks on the door. He was very puzzled. Who would come to visit so late at night? It couldn't be Miss Cheng, right? Jia Muzhen put down the book. Perhaps he was afraid of disturbing Xiao Chen's sleep, so he quickly ran over and opened the door. However, when he saw the person standing outside the door, he was stunned. It was actually Tian Suruan. Why is she here? Chapter 892. Ever since she saw Jia Muzhen in the cafeteria at noon, Tian Suruan had been worried sick. She was also absent-minded during the memorial service in the afternoon. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that he might have recognized her. In fact, Tian Suruan had a secret in her heart. She had only mentioned it to Su Chuxia, and no one else knew about it. Originally, she had planned to talk to Xiao Chang about it, but in order to prevent Xiao Chang from being implicated, she decided to keep it a secret. From high school to university, as time passed, Tian Suruan felt more and more that her good days were numbered. She thought that she could spend her beautiful university days with Su Chuxia, but she didn't expect to bump into Jia Muzhen right after entering university. This made her even more suspicious. After thinking about it for a long time, Tian Suruan finally couldn't suppress the doubts in her heart. She decided that she had to find out the truth. Otherwise, it would be too uncomfortable to keep it to herself. So, at night, she found out Jia Muzhen's dormitory and secretly came to his door. Hello, who are you looking for? After staring at Tian Suruan for a long time, Jia Muzhen finally managed to speak. At this time, his heart was surging. He didn't expect that the sexy beauty who had lunch with him in the cafeteria would come to his door. Could it be that I got lucky with the ladies? No way. How could a beautiful woman like me, who has such a loser's appearance? She must be looking for Xiao Yi, but Xiao Yi has a girlfriend. He introduced her at noon, so she should know. Could it be that she wants to be a mistress? But Xiao Yi isn't that good looking, Sister Suruan has something to ask you. Don't be shy like a girl. Let's go in first. Jia Muzin was still standing there, daydreaming, when Tian Suruan had already pushed open the door and swaggered in. Jia Muzin came back to his senses and quickly followed behind her. He thought to himself, so she has something to ask me? What is it? Could it be that she wants to ask me if I can be her boyfriend? Oh. Isn't this miser Suruan? What business do you have in my dormitory? Although Xiao Chen was in the room, he could clearly hear the conversation outside the door. Originally, he subconsciously thought that he had been recognized by Tian Souring and was thinking about how to explain it. He did not expect that this chick was actually looking for Jia Muzin. Why are you here? Tian Shosho frowned slightly. After thinking for a while, he suddenly realized, oh right. Sourly Sour Sis finally remembered. You're roommates with this four-eyed guy. Look at you, you already have a girlfriend, why are you still living with a guy? Could it be that you're gay? Why are you asking so many questions? Are you alright? If there's nothing else, hurry back. Don't disturb my sleep in the middle of the night. Xiao Chen retorted snappily. However, he was a little puzzled. What was Tian Sour up to? It didn't seem like she had seen through him. Could it be that she really had something to talk to him about? Sleep your head. Tian Tang snorted and glared at Xiao Chen. You're not allowed to sleep. Sourly Sour Sis has something to ask that four-eyed guy. Go out and hide for a while. Go find your girlfriend and have a go or something. In short, don't be a hindrance here, do you hear me? What the heck, this is my dormitory. It's fine if you want me to go out and say something nice to me, but you're being so rude. Do you believe that I won't reject you? Xiao Chen pretended to be angry. He did not really want to argue with Tian Shosho. He just wanted to tease her. He wanted to know why she was looking for Jia Muzin. Didn't the two of them just meet today? Could it be that Tian Shosho has fallen in love with someone else? Although the two of them were faking it, Xiao Chen still felt a little uncomfortable when he thought about it. That was why he asked so forcefully. You're not leaving? Do you think that if I shouted molest, would people come and surround me? This is the male dormitory. Tian Shosho did not care about Xiao Chen's anger. She purposely unbuttoned her collar and took 2 steps forward to threaten him. You win, let's wait and see. Looking at Tian Shosho's ferocious expression, Xiao Chen was speechless. He pretended to speak fiercely and walked out of the dormitory, not forgetting to close the door behind him. Hearing Xiao Chen's footsteps getting further and further away, Tian Shosho finally buttoned up her collar in satisfaction. She then stared at Jia Muzin with a serious expression. Pretty lady, why are you looking for me? What do you want to ask me? I don't think we've met before. Jia Muzin initially thought that he had a romantic encounter, but Tian Shosho's dangerous gaze made his hair stand on end. When had he ever encountered something like this before? He waited for a long time, but the other party did not speak. He could only break the silence and ask cautiously. Four-eyed guy, do you know me? Don't try to lie. Sister Sourly Sour isn't that easy to fool. Tian Shosho took a deep breath and asked unhurriedly. Her eyes were fixed on Jia Muzin's face. Jia Muzin was immediately dumbfounded. After being stunned for a long time, he hesitantly asked, that. I still don't quite understand. What do you mean? Can you explain it more clearly? F***ck me, why are you so stupid? Sister Sourly Sour just wants to know if you've seen me before. Don't you understand? Did you get into a university? Don't tell me you bought the letter of acceptance. Tian Shosho explained once more, speechless. Of course I don't know you. I've only been reporting to Lon City University for a few days. Moreover, I've never lived in Lon City before. Today is the first time I've seen you. How could we have met before? Jia Musen explained with a blank expression. He was indeed very puzzled. He did not understand why Tian Shosho would ask such a question. Then why did you stare at Sister Sourly Sour so lecherously this afternoon at the canteen? Could it be that you have some ulterior motives towards Sister Sourly Sour? Although Jia Musen did not seem to be lying, Tian Shosho was still a little worried. She persisted in her questioning. At that time, I only felt that you looked a little familiar. However, after thinking about it for a while, I don't have any impression of you. Could it be that we've really met before? Jia Musen pushed up his spectacles and pondered for a while. However, he still could not recall anything and could only say so. He could not possibly say that he thought Tian Shosho looked like Avril, right? Although the sexy beauty in front of him looked a little familiar and seemed to have an impression in his mind, judging from her accent, she should be a standard Lon City citizen. Jia Musen's first impression was that he should not know her. Oh, no, Sister Sourly Sour is just here to warn you. Don't even think about pursuing Sister Sourly Sour. I already have a boyfriend. Not only is he tall and handsome, he's also highly skilled in martial arts. He can kill you with a single punch. Tian Shosho was instantly reassured when she heard Jia Musen's words and said proudly. However, when she recalled Xiao Chang, she also faintly felt a little regretful. Sigh. Sister Sourly Sour's boyfriend. Don't you know how much Sister Sourly Sour misses you? If you still don't show up, Sister Sourly Sour might not be able to see you anymore. I don't have such thoughts, really. Jia Musen felt depressed when he was warned instead of having a romantic encounter. He had no choice but to reply helplessly with a sullen expression. Oh, then it's fine. Go find a girlfriend. Masturbating all day isn't good for your body, and it also affects your eyesight. That's it, you useless four eyes. Tian Shosho's matter was settled and she couldn't be bothered to stay any longer. She waved her hand and turned to leave the dormitory. Xiao Chen actually didn't go far. He was leaning against the door and waiting. He happened to hear the conversation between the two clearly. When he heard Tian Shosho bid farewell to Jia Musen and was about to leave, he hurriedly ran to the stairs and pretended to have just returned. You're done so quickly. I didn't expect you to be such a quick shooter. I really feel sorry for your girlfriend. After opening the door and taking 2 steps, Tian Shosho saw Xiao Chen walking over and couldn't help but pout. On the surface, Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered with her. However, he smiled bitterly and shook his head in his heart. This Tian Shosho was still the same as before. She was always so neurotic. When others took a few more glances at her, she would think that the person liked her. She really felt good about herself. However, Xiao Chen didn't think much of it. He was dead tired. When he returned to the dormitory, he didn't plan to gossip with Jia Musen. Instead, he continued to cover his head and sleep. The next morning, Xiao Chen and Jia Musen called Cheng Menjing and came to the classroom. Today was the day the freshmen's military training would begin, so they had to wake up early to report. As soon as they stepped into the classroom, they discovered that there were 2 more students in the class. They looked at each other with puzzled expressions. However, the one who was most surprised was still Xiao Chen. This was because he recognized at a glance that the 2 extra people were actually the Chick Xing and Ling Qianxue. Why did they come to Lon City University? Moreover, they also registered for the ancient martial arts major. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Could it be that his whereabouts were exposed? That new student looks quite familiar. I seem to have seen him somewhere before. Jia Musen suddenly muttered to himself. Then, he carefully sized up the Chick Xing for a while and frowned as he tried to recall. Xiao Chen was stunned. What kind of situation was this? Could it be that Jia Muzhen was mistaken? How could he possibly know the chick Xing? Just as Xiao Chen was about to open his mouth to ask, Professor Zhong rushed in and said loudly, "Students, the first-year military training officially begins today. In 10 minutes, please go to the field to collect your uniforms and cloth shoes and report to the instructor." Xiao Chen hurriedly sat down with Jia Muzhen and Cheng Menjing. Professor Zhong looked at the name list in his hand, then raised his head to look at the chick Xing and Ling Qianxue. He said, "Today, there are 2 new students. They are Xing Gongzi and Ling Qianxue, right? You two, introduce yourselves." "Hello everyone, I am Xing Gongzi." The chick Xing stood up and briefly introduced herself. Then, she sat down expressionlessly. The temperature in the entire classroom dropped by several degrees. The chick Xing did not deliberately disguise herself this time, but she still appeared in men's clothing. The reason why she was able to enter this major was because she found the person who had actually taken the ancient martial arts major but had yet to report. Then, she gave him 1,000,000 yuan. Chapter 893. Under the threat of money and force, the man took the money and naturally didn't come to class anymore. He gave his spot to Xingyu. Originally, the school wouldn't agree to this kind of substitution, but it couldn't stop Xing's strong background. Before she came, she directly used her sect's connections in the secular world to find the person in charge of Lanqing University and gave the school a discount on some loan interest. In this way, the school couldn't be more grateful to her, so why would they bother with such trivial matters? Naturally, they smoothly agreed to her admission request and specially made a dormitory for Xing and Ling Qianxue. Ling Qianxue was quite polite. She smiled at the others and said enthusiastically, "Hello, students. I'm Ling Xiaoxue, Xing Gongzi's girlfriend. Strictly speaking, I'm not a freshman, I'm just here to accompany you. Please take care of me in the future." Although Ling Qianxue's attitude was enthusiastic, on the contrary, other than Cheng Menjing and Jia Muzhen who nodded at her in a friendly manner and greeted her, everyone else had a lukewarm attitude. Those who were cold continued to be cold, and those who were reading continued to lower their heads to read. Xiao Chen already knew that they were here for him, so he couldn't be bothered to respond. Professor Zhong saw that no one was interested in meeting new students, so he didn't say much. After a few simple words, he left in a hurry. Seeing that it was almost time for military training, everyone went to the field to gather. For ordinary freshmen, military training could be called a nightmare. After a few days of training, students from other faculties fainted or fell sick from heat exhaustion. However, for Xiao Chen's major, military training was a small matter. They were all ancient martial arts enthusiasts, so there was no problem in terms of physical fitness. Although they were exposed to the sun and training, they were still in high spirits and didn't seem tired at all. That being said, Xiao Chen looked absent-minded throughout the military training. He couldn't lift his spirits no matter what he did. He saw that Xing Chick came to him so quickly, and a strong sense of crisis arose in his heart. Since she could find him, Ma Baizhu, that idiot, would find him sooner or later. It wouldn't be long before he ran away with Cheng Menjing. What made Xiao Chen most depressed was that he repeatedly recalled the entire process of his escape. After thinking for a long time, he still felt that he shouldn't have been followed. Furthermore, after arriving at Lan City, he had only contacted Xia Zhili. Xia Zhili could not have leaked the news, so where exactly did the problem lie? "Xiao Yi, what's wrong with you? I called you a few times today, but you ignored me. What are you thinking about?" At the end of the military training in the evening, Cheng Menjing wanted to ask Xiao Chen to have dinner together, but she didn't expect him to sit on the side of the field in a daze, looking like he had something on his mind. Hearing Cheng Menjing's voice, Xiao Chen raised his head, took a deep breath, and said solemnly, "Meng. Yao Yao, we might have to start running again. You better be mentally prepared. Don't run around if you have nothing to do these few days." We've only been in Lan City for a few days, why do we have to leave again? I've just entered university and haven't experienced enough life yet. Cheng Menjing was stunned at first, then disappointment filled her face. She originally thought that she would be able to stay longer in Lan City University this time, but she didn't expect that her hopes would be dashed again. The 2 new students from our department are the ones who were watching us at the morning market street. I didn't expect them to come so quickly, so for safety's sake, we should make plans to leave as soon as possible. Xiao Chen sighed and shook his head helplessly. But I don't want to run anymore. If we keep running like this, when will it be over? Moreover, I have to live in fear every day, afraid that someone will suddenly attack me. Don't tell me that I have to spend the rest of my life on the run. Cheng Menjing frowned and murmured unhappily. In these few days, she had gradually adapted to university life and even became good friends with Ling Qianyu, so she increasingly disliked the days of hiding. Sigh, there's nothing I can do. It's all my fault, my strength is too low. If only I had the cultivation of the peak of the Golden Core stage level 9, I wouldn't have to be afraid of that old man Ma Tianzhu. Hearing Cheng Menjing's complaints, Xiao Chen's voice was a little bitter. If he was at the peak of the Golden Core stage level 9, it would be equivalent to the strength of the Devil King level 10. With the help of the fire of the underworld and Little Demonin, he would be able to confront Ma Tianzhu head-on. Cheng Menjing also knew that Xiao Chen was telling the truth, but she was still very upset. She felt that not only Xiao Chen, but her strength was also too low. In the secular world, there was not enough heaven and earth spiritual energy for her to cultivate. Even if she wanted to join forces with Xiao Chen to fight against Ma Tianzhu, it would be very difficult to achieve. Not to mention joining forces, it was very likely that she would be dragging Xiao Chen down. Forget it, Missy, don't think so much. Anyway, let's observe for a few days first. From the looks of it, young Master Xing doesn't seem like a bad person. He's probably on our side. Otherwise, he wouldn't have helped us escape last time. Seeing that Cheng Menjing's expression wasn't too good, Xiao Chen could only open his mouth to comfort her. Cheng Menjing did not say anything. First, she thought for a while, the expression on her face alternating between red and white. After a few minutes of silence, she took a deep breath, as if she had made an important decision. She bit her lower lip and intermittently uttered a voice like a mosquito, Xiao. Xiao-yi, why don't we dual cultivate, huh? What did you say? Xiao Chen asked casually. His attention was all on thinking about the countermeasures for the future. He vaguely heard Cheng Menjing muttering a few words, but as for the content, he was completely unable to hear it clearly. I said, let's dual cultivate tonight. Cheng Menjing's face was as red as an apple. She lowered her head and kept rubbing the corner of her clothes as she softly repeated. No way. Xiao Chen was startled, thinking that he had heard wrong. He quickly asked, "You've thought it through? I thought you had already forgotten about dual cultivation. I didn't think that you would take the initiative to bring it up." Humph. Such an important matter, how could I forget? I'm not yet. Cheng Menjing stammered for a long time, then simply glared at Xiao Chen and directly skipped this topic. Hey, our strength is too low. If we don't quickly increase our strength, if Ma Laozhe really comes, then we're dead for sure. Cheng Menjing muttered in her heart. Wasn't it because I couldn't accept being naked in front of you? That's why I was conflicted for so long. How could I have forgotten? If it wasn't because the current situation was not optimistic, Cheng Menjing would not choose to dual cultivate to increase their strength. But if they stagnated and did not break through, when Ma Laozhe came up with an inescapable trap, both of them would not be able to escape. Alright, since you've decided, then let's dual cultivate tonight. Let's go eat first. Xiao Chen thought for a while and said, there's definitely no way to dual cultivate in the dormitory. How about this, let's go to a hotel and get a room, lest we're discovered again. Anyway, we're a couple now, it's no problem to get a room. Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes at Xiao Chen but did not object. After the two went to the cafeteria for dinner, they went straight to the express hotel that they had stayed in before. They casually booked a cheap king-sized bedroom and began to prepare for dual cultivation. However, when it came to the real start, Cheng Menjing hesitated again. Although she was Xiao Chen's fiancée, she had never been fully prepared mentally. She could not muster up any courage to be honest with him. After stripping off her clothes in the bathroom, Cheng Menjing's hand held the door handle. Her mind was full of thoughts like glue. She did not dare to open the door to meet Xiao Chen. She just stood there in a daze and did not move for a long time. After waiting for a long time, seeing that Cheng Menjing still did not come out, Xiao Chen was a little puzzled. He had to stand outside the bathroom and shouted, "Missy, are you ready? I've already hung up the curtain. You can come out at any time." Why are you in such a hurry? Anyway, you don't have to go back to the dormitory tonight. Can't you take it slow? You turn off the light first, and then check if there are any holes in the curtain. I'm telling you, don't even think about taking the opportunity to peek at my body. Cheng Menjing was in a dilemma. When she was shouted by Xiao Chen, her heart was even more unsettled. She shouted shyly and anxiously. "You can rest assured. I have carefully checked 3 times. There is no problem at all. The light is also turned off." Xiao Chen said with a smile, then he walked back to the bed and sat down on the side of the curtain. Xiao Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry at Cheng Menjing's cautiousness. If he had the intention to peek, he would have been able to see Cheng Menjing clearly even in the pitch-black night, let alone with the curtain blocking his view. "Oh, then I'm going out. You close your eyes first." Cheng Menjing felt that it was not a good idea to stand in the same place, so she wrapped a bath towel around her body. She clenched her teeth and opened a gap in the door. After confirming that the light in the room was turned off, she summoned her courage and walked out carefully. "Young miss, walk a little to the left, or you will hit the chair." Xiao Chen felt funny. It was dark, and young miss didn't know how to use her divine sense to explore the surrounding environment. She just bumped into him in a daze. If Xiao Chen didn't remind her, she would probably have to spend a lot of effort to walk to the bed. "Ah! Damn Xiao Chen, stinking rogue, are you squinting your eyes to peek? Otherwise, how do you know where I am?" Cheng Menjing was shocked, but she still moved to the left according to his words. Her eyes were still staring in the direction of Xiao Chen. When she just came out of the toilet, she hadn't fully adapted to the darkness. It was dark in front of her, and she couldn't see anything clearly. Now she could vaguely see things. "I say, you are also a cultivator. Why don't you release your divine sense to explore the way? Do you still remember your identity? It's really a waste of such an awesome skill." Xiao Chen said helplessly with black lines on his head. Chapter 894. That's right. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have thought of it. Cheng Menjing came to a sudden realization. She quickly released her divine sense and successfully walked to the bedside. Staring at the curtain in the middle, Cheng Menjing hesitated for a while. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She circulated her primordial qi and transformed a set of clothes on her body. Then, she slowly sat down and untied the bath towel on her body. She said slowly, "It's all done. Let's begin." Pfft! Xiao Chen lifted the curtain and was about to extend his hand to touch Cheng Menjing's palm when he suddenly saw the transformation effect on Cheng Menjing's body. He almost burst out laughing. "What are you laughing at? What's so funny? Haven't you seen me wear such beautiful clothes?" Cheng Menjing glanced at Xiao Chen and said angrily. "Indeed, I haven't seen it before." Xiao Chen shook his head seriously and said, "Missy, it's better not to transform. Otherwise, it will be slow to cultivate while releasing primordial qi." The reason why Xiaochen said this was not because he wanted to see Cheng Menjing's body, but because it was the truth. With her current cultivation level, to maintain the effect of the clothes on her body would consume a lot of primordial qi. So, it would definitely affect the progress of her cultivation. No. What if you take the opportunity to peek? That's it. I think it's pretty good. Cheng Menjing didn't even think about it and directly rejected Xiaochen's proposal. Feeling helpless, Xiaochen could only shut his mouth obediently. Actually, the clothes that the eldest young mistress conjured were only effective against low-level cultivators or ordinary people. Xiaochen was already an expert at the pinnacle of the second level of the Golden Core realm. He could completely ignore this kind of child's play. It was as if he was looking at the emperor's new clothes. However, since Missy insisted, Xiaochen was embarrassed to tell the truth. What if she knew and refused to cultivate again? After thinking about it, Xiaochen decided to cooperate with Cheng Menjing. He transformed a set of clothes on his body, but he could still see the eldest miss clearly. Since it was his first time seeing Cheng Menjing's body, Xiaochen subconsciously admired it for a while. The more he looked, the more restless he became. Slowly, Xiaochen's line of sight began to move towards the eldest miss's smooth abdomen, and then gradually moved downwards. Suddenly, Xiaochen felt a burning sensation in his abdomen. An evil thought kept lingering in his mind, and he seemed to be unable to control it. When Xiaochen came to his senses, he was shocked. This was a sign of qi deviation. He hurriedly calmed his mind and used his primordial qi to forcefully suppress the turbulence in his body. He closed his eyes and no longer looked at the young miss in front of him. Only when his heart slowly calmed down did he officially begin dual cultivation with the young Mississippi. Xiaochen silently wiped the sweat off his forehead. Holy sh**t. It was really too dangerous. Fortunately, the young miss didn't see any abnormalities in a certain part of my body. Otherwise, I would be in trouble today. However, when the two of them officially began dual cultivation, Xiaochen suddenly discovered that compared to the slow speed of dual cultivation with Yi Xiaoya, the current dual cultivation with the young miss could be said to be at the speed of light. Since both of them were cultivators, there was no conversion or condensation process at all. The pure primordial qi passed through Xiaochen and Cheng Menjing's palms and circulated through their bodies a few times. After that, Cheng Menjing took the lead in breaking through and reached the first level of the building foundation stage. This rocket-like speed made Xiaochen secretly click his tongue. Although he didn't break through that quickly, he could also feel that his strength was steadily rising. He couldn't help but feel happy in his heart. After 2 hours had passed, Xiaochen also faintly felt that he had touched the barrier of the third level of the gold core stage. His spirit was greatly uplifted and he couldn't help but speed up the primordial qi circulation. Every time he transferred more primordial qi into Cheng Menjing's body, the primordial qi also gradually increased. Xiaochen. Hurry up, give me more. Cheng Menjing, who had been infused with more primordial qi, didn't feel the slightest discomfort. Instead, she felt warm all over and very comfortable. She couldn't help but moan a few times. Xiaochen was teased by the young miss's voice. His heart was itching. The desire that he had just suppressed was a little bit rekindled. In order to control the state of his body, he gradually slowed down the speed of his primordial qi transmission. Don't stop. Hurry up. Hurry up. Cheng Menjing was very anxious and repeatedly urged. Okay. Xiaochen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, he also knew that the young miss was at a critical moment, so he could only nod his head. While controlling the evil thoughts, he increased the speed of the transmission. My body feels like it's going to melt. It's so comfortable. Feeling a warm current shuttling through her body, Cheng Menjing shouted loudly. Xiaochen's face was waterfall of sweat. The young miss's shout was too easy to let people's imagination run wild. Fortunately, the location of this room was relatively close to the street. The roar of the passing vehicles could more or less cover her voice. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if the people next door heard it. At this time, Xiaochen was extremely glad that they had booked a room in a hotel. If they had cultivated in the dormitory, maybe the dormitory manager would have directly come to the door. Cheng Menjing's shouting continued intermittently throughout the night, but fortunately, it was worth it. After this night, she had successfully promoted her cultivation to the peak of the 8th level of the foundation establishment stage. Originally, she wanted to continue cultivating, but the sky was already bright. She couldn't transform clothes for a long time, so she had to stop. Xiaochen's cultivation speed wasn't that fast, but he had also advanced to the peak of the 3rd level of the golden core stage. Although there was still a little gap from the expected peak of the 9th level of the golden core stage, Xiaochen was already very satisfied. When leaving the hotel, the receptionist at the front desk looked at Xiaochen with ambiguous and awe-inspiring eyes. This man is awesome. He actually came for a whole night. His physical strength is really not for show. Although Xiaochen roughly knew the meaning of the other party's look, he was sure that it was not a good look. He hurriedly paid the bill and pulled Cheng Menjing out of the hotel as if he was escaping. After leaving the express hotel, Cheng Menjing felt refreshed. She didn't expect that in just a short night, she had already become an expert at the peak of the 8th level of the foundation establishment stage. This was equivalent to the strength of the Devil General. Cheng Menjing couldn't help but secretly sigh. It turned out that the dual cultivation was really so powerful. On the other hand, Xiaochen's face was indifferent, as if he didn't care at all. In the past, when he was dual cultivating with Yi Xiaoya, his strength also rose slowly, so he wasn't very surprised. Instead, he was thinking about how to increase the speed of his cultivation. In fact, if he wanted to obtain the greatest benefits in the shortest time, it was nothing more than a fortuitous encounter, the use of heavenly treasures, or like before, XX with Yi Xiaoya in a special environment, then his strength would advance by leaps and bounds. However, Xiaochen only dared to think about it. After all, it was already not easy to get the eldest miss to agree to dual cultivating with him. If he simply asked the eldest miss to do it with him just to improve his strength, she would probably beat him to death. Unknowingly, the two of them had already walked into the school gate. Today, the school seemed to be very lively. Many people ran around with a stack of papers in their hands, and when they saw someone, they would pull them to talk. Xiaochen and Cheng Menjing looked at each other, a little puzzled. Before the two of them had taken a few steps, a student holding a booklet in his hand saw them. After seeing Xiaochen, his eyes lit up and he ran over. Xiaochen took a step back subconsciously, but the student didn't notice it. He asked with enthusiasm, "Student, I am Dong Zhiqi, the president of the martial arts club of this school. Are you interested in martial arts? Would you like to visit our club?" Xiaochen was stunned. Only then did he remember that there seemed to be all kinds of clubs in the university. Every time a freshman enrolled, these clubs would recruit people everywhere to absorb fresh blood. It seemed that today was the day of recruitment. Looking at the person in front of him, Xiaochen guessed that he should want to invite him to join some martial arts club, so he shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, I don't have the idea of joining a club for the time being." "Student, hey, student. Don't go first. I see that your physique is relatively small. If you can learn martial arts, you will definitely be a lot stronger, and you can also protect your girlfriend, right? This is the martial arts club's brochure, why don't you think about it again?" Dong Zhiqi pulled Xiaochen, who was about to leave, took out a booklet, and forced it into Xiaochen's hands. "Oh, my girlfriend is very strong. She doesn't need my protection for the time being. It's more like she can protect me, but thank you for your kindness," Xiaochen said with a smile. In any case, the young miss was an expert of the demon general level. Not to mention the secular world, even in the outside world of martial arts, she could be ranked. Who would dare to provoke her for no reason? Wasn't that asking for trouble? Cheng Menjing glared at Xiao Chen and secretly pinched his arm. What do you mean by strong? Are you saying that I am a masculine woman? Preposterous. All right then, sorry for bothering you. If you change your mind, you can always come to the martial arts club to look for me. Watching the figures of Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing disappear into the distance, Dong Zhiqi secretly sighed and turned his head to look at the taekwondo club not far away. In contrast to him running around with the brochure, the taekwondo club was as crowded as a marketplace. Many students were lining up to sign up. Seeing this scene, Dong Zhiqi felt even more upset. In recent years, as traditional martial arts gradually declined in the secular world, it was replaced by various foreign martial arts that slowly became popular, such as taekwondo, karate, muay thai, and so on. All of these became the objects of pursuit of young people, and gradually formed a trend. On the other hand, the traditional martial arts of Great Xia were rarely sought after. Dong Zhiqi grew up watching ancient martial arts television dramas. Even in his dreams, he dreamed of becoming a martial arts master with unique skills, so he had always been very passionate about traditional martial arts. When he entered Lancheng University, he found out that there was actually a martial arts club. Without thinking, he directly signed up for it, and even chose Xiao Chen's ancient martial arts research as his second major. But not long after, Dong Zhiqi discovered that the members who joined the club at the same time as him began to withdraw from the club under the arduous training. Chapter 895. There were even some who simply disappeared, turning around to join the Taekwondo club and Karate club, which had simpler training. Only Dong Zhiqi and a few other hard-working club members remained. Senior Dong, can I join? Although I'm a girl, I'm definitely not worse than a guy. Dong Zhiqi had just finished speaking when Cheng Menjing immediately raised her hand. He had missed a chance just now. He definitely couldn't waste it this time. Oh, then I'll go with you. Xiao Chen replied helplessly. Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing arrived at the classroom. Cheng Menjing found a corner and sat down. She pouted angrily and looked unhappy. However, joining a club wasn't too big of a problem. Now that Cheng Menjing had agreed to dual cultivation, the two of them would gradually increase their strength. Dong Zhiqi didn't lie. The martial arts club did have martial arts manuals. However, this kind of small club in the secular world definitely didn't have the ability to obtain high-level manuals. Basically, they only had ordinary stuff. It was just that Dong Zhiqi didn't know about it. Seeing the mistress's uncertain expression, Xiao Chen didn't know how he had offended her. He could only quietly sit beside her and didn't dare to ask. He lowered his head and casually flipped through the textbook. Dong Zhiqi was stunned at first. He didn't expect the cold man to suddenly make a move. He didn't have time to prepare before he instantly felt a gust of energy rushing towards him. Since he could sign up for an ancient martial arts major, he should be very interested in martial arts. Rather than blindly trying to find someone under the hot sun, it would be faster and more effective to find someone according to their major. Fortunately, he had been practicing diligently. His reaction was faster than the average person. He quickly raised his hands to block. Okay, then it's a deal. The cold man nodded slightly. He stood up and rushed towards Dong Zhiqi without saying anything. He waved his hand and slammed it heavily on Dong Zhiqi's chest. That. Senior Dong, my girlfriend and I are also participating. My name is Xing Gongzi and my girlfriend is Ling Xiaoxue. Since Xiao Chen and Cheng Mengyao had signed up, Xing Gongzi naturally had to follow them. What you said makes sense. Let's go and try it out now. When Dong Zhiqi heard this, he felt that it made sense. The remaining members were all ancient martial arts majors, so he directly followed Jia Muzhen to the archaeology department's teaching building. But now, including Dong Zhiqi, the entire martial arts club had a total of 4 members, one of whom had just joined a few days ago. Just as Xiao Chen was about to say something, he saw Jia Muzhen bringing a familiar-looking senior into the classroom. It was the Wuxia president, Dong Zhiqi. "President Dong, you want me to join your club? It's very simple. Give me the position of vice president, and I'll join the club. Otherwise, there's no need to talk." The aloof man crossed his arms and leaned back in his chair. "Sigh, don't mention it. I didn't manage to recruit anyone either. It seems that our martial arts club will not be able to survive this time." Dong Zhiqi sighed and said helplessly. "Of course. All the secret manuals in the club can be read for free." Dong Zhiqi nodded. Seeing Xiao Chen agree, Cheng Menjing's mood immediately improved. She smiled and said to Dong Zhiqi, "Senior, let's register. I'm Cheng Yaoyao, and he's Xiao Yi." "Okay. I got it." Dong Zhiqi was speechless. If he knew this Cheng Yaoyao was so tough, he would have directly changed his target to her and invited her to join the martial arts club. Not only would he succeed in one fell swoop, but he could also invite Xiao Yi. Wouldn't that save him a lot of trouble? "Miss, it's not like you don't know our situation. We're in danger of being hunted at any time. For safety, I think it's better to keep a low profile to avoid any more trouble." Xiao Chen finally understood the reason why Miss was angry. He could only explain. "Senior Dong, I've been shouting for a long time, but no one responded. How's the situation here?" A voice came from afar. Dong Zhiqi looked up and saw Jia Muzhen running over. In his hand was a stack of martial arts club brochures. It turned out that Jia Muzhen was the new member. But after Dong Zhiqi looked carefully, he couldn't help but be stunned. The girl who raised her hand to register, wasn't it the young couple he met at the school gate? Originally, he wanted to recruit that boy into the club, but he didn't succeed. He didn't expect to meet him again here. It seemed that the boy wasn't lying when he said that this girl was strong. "Xiao Yi, why did you reject that senior just now?" "I still want to find a club to join." Cheng Menjing sulked for a while. Seeing that Xiao Chen didn't ask why she was angry, she couldn't help but feel a little dissatisfied. However, the words of the cold man just now ignited Dong Zhiqi's fighting spirit. He also wanted to see if the person in front of him had the qualifications to boast, so he decided to accept the challenge. "Hee, it's okay. We practice martial arts, it's normal to have a bit of a temper." Dong Zhiqi waved his hand and squinted his eyes to size up the cold man. "If you can really defeat me, then don't mention being the vice president. Even if I let you be the president, it's not a problem." Although this girl who wanted to join the martial arts club was relatively ordinary, it was a great thing to have someone join. "Are you talking to me?" The boy who was reading raised his head and asked. Seeing Dong Zhiqi nod, he thought about it and said, "What are the benefits of joining the martial arts club? Are there martial arts manuals to read?" She had heard about it when she was in high school. The clubs in the university were quite interesting. Just now when that senior came to recruit, she wanted to say yes, but she didn't expect Xiao Chen to directly reject him. He even said that she was a tough girl. "Humph, I'm much gentler than Tang Tang, what tough girl." Jia Muzhen walked to the podium and looked at the few students below him. "Everyone, this is the president of our school's martial arts club. We are all students majoring in ancient martial arts. Does anyone want to join the martial arts club?" Raising his head, Dong Zhiqi saw two people sitting not far away from the classroom. Although one looked very cold and the other had his head down to read a book and didn't pay attention to them, he regained his confidence and asked enthusiastically, "Those two students, are you interested in joining the martial arts club?" Just at the moment when the cold man struck, Xiao Chen who was sitting in the corner saw that he was actually at the peak of martial artist level 3. He was instantly shocked. In order for the club to survive, Dong Zhiqi had to run out to recruit members while the freshmen started school. However, after running around and earnestly promoting the club for the whole morning, no one was interested. "Student, aren't you being too arrogant?" Xiaofan, who had been standing at the side, couldn't take it anymore and stood out indignantly. He was now a member of the martial arts club. Seeing the president being provoked, he was naturally a little unhappy. In the second year, the previous president graduated. As the leader of the club, Dong Zhiqi naturally took over the position of president. However, something that gave him a headache followed. What talisman is not in line with the rules? If you weren't a senior, I would have directly asked you for the position of president. The cold man snorted coldly and looked at Dong Zhiqi with contempt. With a face full of arrogance, he said, "Isn't the president of the martial arts club the stronger one? If I want to defeat you, it'll be as easy as lifting a finger." "Alright, then I'll join. My name is Kai Zhuwei." Hearing that there was a secret manual to read, the guy who was reading did not hesitate. After reporting his name, he lowered his head and continued reading. He didn't seem to care what kind of secret manual Dong Zhiqi had. As long as it was a martial arts secret manual, it would be fine. The school had announced a rule in the new semester. Any club must recruit 10 members before it could continue to exist. Otherwise, it would be cancelled. "President, don't be discouraged. Why don't you try your luck in my class? After all, we're all freshmen majoring in ancient martial arts. Who knows, you might be able to recruit someone." Xiaofan thought for a while and suggested. "Oh? Of course." Dong Zhiqi didn't expect someone to join so quickly. He was overjoyed but also a little surprised. He didn't expect that there would be a female in the already unpopular ancient martial arts department. Moreover, there was more than one. Bang! A loud sound could be heard. Dong Zhiqi was directly pushed by the cold man. Fortunately, his body was quite sturdy. Although he fell to the ground, it was only a scratch and nothing serious. "It's just some activities. What trouble can there be? If you don't want to accompany me, I'll just find my own club." Cheng Menjing twisted her body in a fit of pique and said gloomily. If there were no accidents, Xiaochen felt that he should be able to reach the peak of Golden Core level 9 very quickly. At that time, he wouldn't have to worry about being careless anymore. "Xiao Yi, are you going? I'll give you another chance." Cheng Menjing stood up and asked in a condescending manner. I'm afraid this doesn't conform to the rules, right? If you want to be the vice president, you can go through the normal promotion channels." Before Dong Zhiqi could finish his sentence, he was directly cut off by the cold man. Since he could become the president of the martial arts club, Dong Zhiqi naturally had some skills in his hands. When he first joined the club, he was also full of passion and sparred with others. However, as time went by, he gradually matured and learned to respect the overall situation, and the impulse in his heart was gradually smoothed out. "Hello everyone, my name is Dong Zhiqi. Although our club is small, I believe that as long as the students are willing to join, we will definitely be able to work together to make the club great. Since everyone is an ancient martial arts department, you must be a little interested in martial arts. I hope the students will actively sign up," Dong Zhiqi encouraged with a smile. Okay. Thank you so much. The martial arts club will definitely not let everyone down." Dong Zhiqi didn't expect so many people to sign up for the ancient martial arts department. He couldn't help but register happily. He thought that as long as he recruited 2 more people, the club would not be expelled. Although she also felt that Xiao Chen's words made sense, she had already changed her appearance. If she was discovered, it would be the same even if she didn't join the club. Chapter 896. This guy is usually quiet, but I didn't expect him to actually have some strength. He hit it quite well. Could he be a disciple of an orthodox sect in the outer martial arts world? Cheng Menjing, who was sitting beside Xiao Chen, naturally saw it as well. She lightly touched Xiao Chen's elbow under the table, looking a little worried. Xiao Chen nodded slightly and gave Cheng Menjing a look, telling her not to be too nervous. Xing Chik and Ling Qianxue looked at each other and didn't say anything. Their expressions were very calm, and no one knew what they were thinking. Jia Muzhen, who was standing on the side, frowned. Although he hated the cold man, he couldn't do anything about it. After all, it was the president who accepted the challenge and was pushed down. As for Kai Zhuwei, he acted as if nothing had happened. He still lowered his head and read the secret manual, ignoring everything that happened in the classroom. You win. Dong Zhiqi sat on the floor with a gloomy face. He didn't get up and shook his head. I lost the bet. I'll go back and arrange for the president's handover. The president position of the martial arts club is now yours. You lost, but I'm not interested in being the president. Let's do as we said before. The cold man crossed his arms in front of his chest, raised his chin, and revealed his two big nostrils. He looked around the classroom arrogantly and said, "From now on, let me, Wang Zhengtian, the vice president, lead everyone and trample all the other martial arts clubs in the school. We'll carry forward our ancient martial arts club and become the #1 club in Lan City University." After saying that, Wang Zhengtian glanced at Dong Zhiqi and swaggered out of the classroom. No one knew what he was going to do. "Senior Dong, are you all right? Do you need me to send you to the infirmary?" Seeing that things had finally come to an end, Jia Muzhen hurriedly ran over and helped Dong Zhiqi up to check his injuries. "It's nothing. It's just a scratch. I really didn't expect that there would be such a powerful master among the ancient martial arts freshmen. I can rest assured with him in the club in the future." Dong Zhiqi waved his hand and smiled bitterly. Although he was beaten, Dong Zhiqi didn't hold a grudge against Wang Zhengtian. Instead, he felt a little relieved. As the oldest club in Lan City University, the martial arts club often received challenges from other clubs, commonly known as challenge, despite its awe-inspiring name. The key was that in the past 2 years, Dong Zhiqi was the only one in the entire martial arts club who was better at fighting. When the others sparred with others, they were basically beaten up. Dong Zhiqi felt that with the addition of an expert like Wang Zhengtian, the burden on his shoulders would be lighter. As for the position of vice president, since he had the strength, there was no harm in letting him take it. After saying a few words of encouragement, Dong Zhiqi left the classroom and rushed to the student's office with the name list. Since there were enough members in the club, he had to report it to the school as soon as possible. Otherwise, he might accidentally cancel the club. The morning class ended very quickly. In the class, only Cheng Menjing and Jia Muzhen were relatively serious during class. The others had an indifferent attitude. After all, they didn't really come to the university to study, but each had their own purpose. Needless to say, there was no need to mention Xiao Chen. Xing Chik and Ling Qianxue kept whispering to each other. Kai Zhuwei had his head lowered and was reading. The aloof guy, Wang Zhengtian, didn't come back after he went out. He skipped class. However, the teacher didn't care and continued the class as if he was already used to it. "Xiao Yi, do you have time at noon?" As soon as the bell rang, the teacher walked out of the classroom. Jia Muzhen turned around and asked, "I heard that there's a student market near Lan City University. There's a lot of good food there. I'm planning to buy some daily necessities. Why don't we go and take a look?" Sure. I'll go with you guys. I'm tired of the food in the cafeteria. It's a good time to change my taste." Before Xiao Chen could reply, Cheng Menjing rushed to agree. She originally thought that the food in the university cafeteria would be good, but after eating a few times, she realized that it wasn't the case at all. It was terrible. Not to mention the food cooked by Xiao Chen, it was even worse than the food in Songning Second High School. The young miss wanted to eat something different now. She originally wanted to let Xiao Chen cook personally, but this condition really didn't allow it. She could only settle for the next best thing. "Alright, then let's go shopping." There's no important class in the afternoon anyway. Since the young miss had agreed, Xiaofan had no reason to object. He nodded and agreed. After leaving the school, the three went straight to the nearby market. This place was very close to Lon City University. During the day and night, it was as lively as Songning's morning market. Not only were there all kinds of snacks, but there were also some grocery stores selling daily necessities. Most importantly, the prices were reasonable. It was within the acceptable range for students. Not long after entering the market, Xiaofan sensed that someone was following him. Just as he was about to silently release his spiritual sense to find out who the other party was, the person who was following him was already running over quickly. Could it be that Ma Baixia had discovered him? Was he going to make a move in broad daylight? Xiaofan's heart tightened. He was about to turn around and get ready to fight the enemy, but he didn't expect the person to take the initiative to greet him. Four Eyes, I didn't expect you to be so fated with Sister Sour. I can't believe we ran into each other here by chance. Tian Sour acted as if she didn't see Xiaofan. She directly went around him and patted Jia Muzin's shoulder heavily. Xiaofan's tensed nerves immediately relaxed. He secretly complained, this Tian Sour is too unreliable. Why does she have to follow others for no reason? She's making such a fuss, and she's even lying about running into me by chance. He glanced to the side and saw that Su Chuxia was also following behind Tian Sour. However, her cheeks were slightly red, and her expression was a little helpless. It seemed that Tian Sour had forcefully dragged her over. Hello, are you here for lunch too? Jia Muzin was a little stunned. He was a little surprised to see that it was Tian Sour. Why has Tian Sour been looking for me lately? Could it be that I'm going to get lucky with the ladies? But didn't she say that she had a boyfriend and even warned me not to dream about it? Actually, Jia Muzin didn't know that after Tian Sour went to their dormitory a few days ago, she was relieved. However, after thinking about it, she still felt that it was very likely that Jia Muzin knew her. It was just that he pretended not to know her because he wanted to snitch on her. After all, the bounty was quite high. Tian Sour couldn't sleep for the whole night. She decided to test the waters again. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to sleep well tonight. After making her decision, she took Su Chuxia and followed Xiaofan and the others from the school to the student market. She planned to find an opportunity to get close to Jia Muzin and familiarize herself with him. Then, she would use her beauty to get the information out of him. At first, Su Chuxia didn't agree with Tian Suru's way of doing things. She felt that stalking others was a very rude thing to do. It was just like when Xiaofan stalked and spied on her. She also felt uncomfortable because her every move was exposed to others. However, she had a gentle personality. She couldn't stand Tian Sour's coaxing and pestering. Moreover, the situation was indeed special. Moreover, if she stayed in the school, she might be harassed by Shuigao. She had no choice but to follow them. Yeah. Why don't we eat together? Tian Sour rolled her eyes and said casually, although Sister Sour already has a boyfriend and can't let you date him, I can give you a chance to treat us to lunch. A loser like you probably doesn't have many opportunities to have lunch with two beautiful women, right? How about it? Are you a little excited? Su Chuxia, who was standing at the side, blushed even more. She lowered her head so much that it almost touched the ground. Who would praise themselves like that? Sour was too impulsive. This. Jia Muzin was a little troubled. He pointed at Xiaofan and Cheng Menjing and said, I'm afraid I can't this time. I've already promised Xiao Yi and the others that we'll have lunch together. I can't go back on my word, can I? Why don't we meet another day? What's another day? Haven't you heard that a chance encounter is better than an invitation? Sister Sour isn't free every day. Her schedule will be full the next day. Besides, they're showing off their love. Is it appropriate for you to be the third wheel? Tian Sour interrupted Jia Muzen before he could finish. I don't think it's inappropriate. Jia Muzen was the one who asked us out first. If you want to come and freeload, we don't mind. At most, we'll just add 2 more pairs of chopsticks. Seeing Jia Muzen's troubled expression, Xiaochen had no choice but to help him out. How can you say that? What do you mean by freeloading? We're 2 beautiful women, do we need to freeload? Sister Sour is doing this for your own good. What if after lunch, you want to find a place to do it, and that 4-eyed guy happens to be with you? Wouldn't that be awkward? Tian Sour rolled her eyes at Xiaochen and said without any hesitation. You. What nonsense are you talking about? Who wants to do it with Xiao? Can you not talk nonsense when you don't know the situation? Cheng Menjing suddenly lost her cool and said angrily. What's wrong with this Tian Sour? Her thoughts are too dirty. Nothing has happened between me and Xiaochen, but from her words, it seems like I like him a lot. Sister Sour understands your difficulties. Although that Xiao Yi looks tall and strong, I didn't expect him to be a quick shooter. He finished it in a few minutes. If it was any other woman, they would feel unhappy. Tian Sour had a sympathetic expression as she patted Cheng Menjing's shoulder and comforted her, but don't be too sad. There are many men out there. Why do you have to hang yourself on one tree? If you can't do it, then change to another one. You. Cheng Menjing was so angry that she couldn't speak. She felt that Tian Sour's words were a bit off. After thinking about it carefully, she realized, how did Tian Sour know that Xiaochen was a quick shooter? Could it be that they? Cheng Menjing turned her head and glared at Xiaochen. Sour, how can you say such things? It's easy to misunderstand. Su Chuxia frowned and finally couldn't stand it anymore. She hurriedly explained to Cheng Menjing, classmate, don't think too much. Sour is just too outspoken. Nothing happened between her and Xiao Yi. She only said that because a few days ago, Sour went to find Jia Muzen. Chapter 897. After listening to Su Chuxia's explanation, Cheng Menjing finally understood that she had indeed misunderstood the relationship between Xiaochen and Tian Souring. Her expression also softened a little. Su Chuxia also secretly wiped away her sweat. Fortunately, Souring told her about the situation when he returned. Otherwise, she would not be able to clear her name even if she jumped into the Yellow River. All right. Let's get down to business. Since we're clear, let's go eat together. It's my treat. Xiaochen let out a sigh of relief and gave Su Chuxia a grateful look. Fortunately, she had helped to explain. Otherwise, he would definitely be scolded by the missy again. It's my treat. I was the one who called you guys out. How can I let you spend money? Jia Muzen quickly waved his hand and then pointed to a barbecue shop not far away. That shop looks pretty good. There are quite a lot of people eating there. Why don't we go there? Alright, It's decided then. Sister Sour could eat meat without restraint again. It felt so good. Let's go and get a good spot. You 2 losers, hurry up and follow us. Tian Souring pulled Su Chuxia's hand and ran directly to the barbecue shop. He did not forget to wave his hand for Xiaochen and the others to follow. What losers? I think you're the loser. It's just a barbecue, and you're already so happy. It's as if you've never eaten meat in your life. Cheng Menjing was very dissatisfied. Xiaochen was her fiancé. If he was a loser, then what was she? This Tian Souring really did not know how to speak. His EQ was too low. Xiaofan could only helplessly shrug when he heard this. He did not dare to continue the conversation. Although he knew that Tian Souring only looked careless and did not actually have a bad personality, Xiaofan did not dare to put in a good word for Tian Souring in front of the missy. Otherwise, she would be suspicious again. During the meal, everyone was busy finishing the food. Only Tian Souring kept chatting with Jia Muzhen. The content of the conversation was nothing more than questions about where he had lived in the past, his family background, and so on. It seemed as if he would not be satisfied until he got to the bottom of Jia Muzhen. However, Jia Muzhen didn't tell him everything honestly. Instead, he only answered half-heartedly. It was clear that he wasn't too willing to talk about his past. Many of his questions were answered half-heartedly, leaving Tian Wangchuan at a loss. Xiaofan could tell that Tian Souring was still unwilling to give up. He was purposely getting close to Jia Muzhen, using the excuse of eating as an excuse to obtain some information from him. Even so, Xiaofan did not intend to expose him directly. In any case, this matter had nothing to do with him. Moreover, Jia Muzhen's lips seemed to be sealed. Tian Wangshou would not be able to find out anything in such a short time. However, Xiaofan believed that with Sister Suruan's personality, she wouldn't give up so easily. He just didn't know why she was so interested in Jia Muzhen. Sure enough, after the meal, Tian Wangshou insisted on going shopping with Xiaofan and the others. Jia Muzhen felt that they were going to buy some daily necessities anyway, so he didn't reject her. Xiaofan, Cheng Menjing, and Su Chuxia naturally became his followers. Hello, fellow students. Our karate dojo has a big sale today. With this VIP card, you can experience a free lesson. Also, you can enjoy a 20% discount when you register. Are you interested in giving it a try? While everyone was wandering around aimlessly, a person who looked like a student suddenly stopped them and handed over a few VIP cards. He asked with a smile on his face. Oh, Sister Suruan isn't interested in fighting and killing. You can ask those three. They're from the ancient martial arts department. Maybe they'll join you. Tian Wangshou was squatting at a stall selling accessories. She immediately waved her hand and rejected the student. Thank you for your kindness, but we feel that foreign martial arts are too weak. They're not as strong as ancient martial arts, so there's no need to recommend them. Xiaofan didn't beat around the bush. He had to use the most direct method to reject others. Moreover, he was already an expert at the peak of Golden Core Stage Level 3. Karate was useless to him. Student, you can't be so sure. Why don't you come and experience it first? Maybe you'll change your mind? The student still didn't give up and tried to sell his wares. He was a part-time student. If he could recommend a customer to learn karate, he could get a commission. Therefore, he didn't want to let go of any opportunity. Hey! I saw that purple earring first. Why did you snatch it away without saying a word? Give it back to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Before Xiaofan could reply, Cheng Menjing and Tian Wangshou started arguing again. Xiaofan was speechless. He had no choice but to go and check on the situation. What a joke. Why didn't you pay for it? If you didn't pay, then it doesn't count. Now that it's in Sister Wangshou's hands, it's mine. You're obviously a loser, yet you call yourself a miss. I think you've watched too many melodramatic dramas. Tian Wangshou held a plastic box tightly in her hand and sneered. Tian Wangshou didn't intend to compete with Cheng Menjing. However, she happened to overhear Cheng Menjing calling her a loser behind her back. At that time, Tian Wangshou had been suppressing her anger. However, in order to get information from Jia Muzhen, she couldn't act up on the spot. Now, she finally had a chance to take revenge. You! Cheng Menjing almost exploded. She quickly took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. She said patiently, I I just wanted to see if there were any better-looking earrings. That's why I didn't pay immediately. If you don't believe me, you can ask the stall owner. He can testify for me. Tisk, if you want to find better, then it means you don't like this pair of earrings. That means you didn't buy it. Look at your rustic look. The earrings suit you well. Let Sister Wuxia wear these elegant purple earrings. Tian Wuxia glanced at Cheng Menjing with disdain. She took out her wallet and prepared to pay for the earrings. You're the rustic one. Your whole family is rustic. Cheng Menjing didn't expect Tian Wuxia to be so unreasonable. She was so angry that her head was buzzing. Seeing that Tian Soran was about to pay, she hurriedly took out her wallet and pulled out a 100 yuan bill, stuffing it into the stall owner's hand. Stall owner, I'll pay for the purple earrings first. Please help me get them back. That, classmate, let's not talk about whether or not I can get it back. The purple earrings are made of 925 pure silver. They cost $150. You don't have enough money. Seeing the two girls fighting over the earrings, the stall owner knew it was a good opportunity to make a profit. He rolled his eyes and pretended to be helpless. Tian Wuxia wanted to pay as well. However, when she saw Cheng Menjing hand over the money first and heard the stall owner's words, she blinked and came up with an idea. She quietly kept her wallet and stood there without saying a word. Oh, then I'll give you another $50. Help me get the earrings back. Cheng Menjing believed him and blushed. She quickly took out another $50 from her wallet and handed it over. Young lady, since this classmate paid first, give her the earrings. I'm also running a small business. Don't make things difficult for me. The stall owner took the money in satisfaction and turned to Tian Wuxia. It's okay. Sister Wuxia is good friends with her. We were just playing around. She wanted to buy these earrings for me anyway, so you don't have to worry about it. Tian Wuxia smirked and said nonchalantly. She put the earrings back into her bag and hummed a song as she prepared to leave. Since Tian Wuxia said so, the stall owner couldn't ask her for more. Moreover, the two of them did come together and seemed to know each other. The young lady wouldn't lie. Damn it! Xiao! Cheng Menjing stomped her feet in anger. She didn't expect Tian Wuxia to be so shameless. Seeing Xiao Chen walking over from afar, Cheng Menjing was about to ask him to teach Tian Suru a lesson. However, she had only opened her mouth halfway when she suddenly paused. She had an idea and thought of a good way to punish him. Stop shouting. Sister Wuxia is so charming. Your loser boyfriend definitely won't come. As Tian Wuxia spoke, the smug look on her face gradually froze. She lowered her head and took out the earrings from her bag. She handed them to Cheng Menjing and turned to pick up the earrings from the stall. Boss, how much do these earrings cost? Oh, the original price is $70, but this is the last box. I'll give you a discount. Just give me $60. The stall owner didn't know why Tian Wuxia suddenly changed her mind, but he wouldn't let go of the opportunity to make money. The earrings cost only $5, so he asked for more than 10 times the price. Oh, here's $60. I'll take these earrings. Tian Wuxia nodded blankly. She took out the money from her wallet and handed it over. She put away the earrings and walked toward Su Chuxia in a daze. Wuxia, I thought you didn't like the earrings. Why did you buy them all of a sudden? Su Chuxia was confused. She was already surprised when Tian Wuxia returned the purple earrings to Cheng Menjing. She thought that it might be because Wuxia didn't want to make enemies with others. However, when she bought these earrings, Su Chuxia really didn't understand. What are you talking about? What earrings? Tian Wuxia's body trembled. Her eyes suddenly became clear. She took out the earrings from her bag and was stunned. What? What's going on? I clearly bought a purple one. You returned the purple earrings to Cheng Yaoyao. Then you bought this earrings. I don't know what you were thinking. If you didn't like them, why did you buy them? Su Chuxia was also confused. She couldn't understand what Tian Wangshuo was thinking. Huh? Sister Wangshuo's brain seemed to be out of control just now. She bought them in a daze. Tian Wangshuo scratched her head. She couldn't remember what happened just now. How did this happen? Are you sick? Su Chuxia asked worriedly. She reached out to touch Tian Wangshuo's forehead. There wasn't a fever. Chapter 898. It's okay, Sister Saori is not sick. Tian Saori lowered her head to look at the earring. Suddenly, she said angrily, no. Sister Saori can't take this loss. This thing is worth 60 yuan. It's my daily living expenses. Sister Saori doesn't want such an ugly thing. It doesn't match my beautiful temperament at all. Student, since the item has been sold and there are no quality issues, it's not refundable. The stall owner heard their conversation and saw Tian Saori walking over. He knew that she must be here to return the item, so he gave her a sideways glance and rejected her. The stall owner sneered and cursed silently. What a joke. The money is already in my pocket, and you want me to spit it out? Dream on. What? You're obviously being a tyrant. There's no. Tian Saori wanted to argue, but the stall owner waved his hand and said with a faint smile, don't use those terms. We small businesses are uncultured and don't understand. Anyway, the item sold is definitely not refundable. Before Tian Saori could speak, Xiaofan walked over with Cheng Menjing's purple earring. He asked directly, Boss, you said that this thing is made of 925 pure silver? Are you sure? Do you have an appraisal certificate for the earring? Xiaofan originally didn't want to interfere with the little quarrel between Tian Saori and Cheng Menjing. However, the stall owner was obviously taking advantage of the situation. He reported the price against his conscience, and Cheng Menjing and the rest didn't realize it at all. She even paid for it stupidly. Although he had set up a stall before, he had always operated with integrity. What he hated the most was using fake goods to make a fortune. As long as he released a little of his mental power, Xiaofan could sense that the earring was not made of pure silver. In addition, the stall owner's attitude towards Tian Saori was so bad that Xiaofan was instantly enraged. Of course. We are businessmen, and honesty is the most important thing. This is the appraisal report. Take a look. The stall owner didn't seem to be surprised. He took out a booklet from somewhere and handed it over. Xiaofan took it and glanced at it. He found that the words on it were very blurry, and there were no anti-counterfeiting signs or barcodes. It was obviously a fake. You dare to fool people with this kind of appraisal report that can be duplicated for 1 yuan? It can only fool those little girls. Xiaofan frowned and threw the booklet on the ground. Don't talk nonsense over there. The stall owner jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He looked Xiaofan up and down and said in a shrill voice, What proof do you have that I'm fooling you? Don't spout nonsense if you don't have any evidence. Do you believe that I will go to the market management office to sue you for slander and let the security take care of you? Cheng Menjing and Tian Saori were watching from the side. Even though they didn't like each other, they knew that Xiaofan was supporting them, so they didn't say anything. Xiaofan laughed coldly. He took out a purple ear stud from the box and pinched it lightly. With a "kacha" sound, the ear stud was directly broken by Xiaofan, revealing the metal inside. The metal was a rusty yellow with a greenish tint. It was obvious that it was made of low-quality copper with a layer of silver on the surface. Raising the ear stud in front of the stall owner, Xiaofan asked coldly, Didn't you say that it's pure silver? Then explain to me, what kind of metal is this? This. The stall owner didn't expect Xiao Chen to be so strong that he could directly break the ear stud. He was shocked and his face turned red and white. He stuttered and couldn't speak. What this and that? Aren't you going to the market management office? Let's go. I want to see if I can fine you 8 or 10,000 yuan for selling fake goods. Xiao Chen grabbed the stall owner's wrist and dragged him out. Wait. Let's talk this out. I was also cheated when I was buying goods. I'm a victim just like you guys. At most I'll refund you the money and give you the ear stud as a gift. The stall owner struggled a few times, but realized that his wrist was locked by an iron hoop. He couldn't break free at all. Left with no choice, he could only beg for mercy. Dream on. Do you know that this is fraud? Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and follow me to the market management office. Otherwise, I won't be polite. Xiao Chen threatened relentlessly. Don't. Let's talk this out. The stall owner's face was bitter. His heart was full of grievances. He was really unlucky today. He didn't expect to meet such a tough customer like Xiao Chen. If he really went to the market management office, the fine was secondary. The key was that his stall would definitely be closed down. Where else could he find such a good place to make money? Seeing that Xiao Chen couldn't make an exception, the stall owner turned his head and saw Cheng Menjing standing on the side. He immediately became spirited and said to her with a sad face, "This beautiful classmate. I was really cheated. It wasn't intentional. How about this, I'll give you a pair of ear studs. I won't charge extra money. Just take it as compensation. What do you think? It's not easy for us to run a small business. Xiao Yi, he was cheated when buying goods. He's also one of the victims. Since it was unintentional, how about we just let it go?" Cheng Menjing was, after all, inexperienced. Seeing that the stall owner was begging, she thought that he was telling the truth. She felt that he was quite pitiful, so she didn't think too much about it and pleaded with Xiao Chen for leniency. "Yeah, it's all my fault. I couldn't tell the truth from the fake. Also, this young lady is also begging for leniency for me. Little brother, don't bother about it. Be magnanimous and let me go." Seeing that there was hope, the stall owner quickly took advantage of the situation. "Oh, okay. I'll listen to you." Xiao Chen let go of his hand and warned with a cold face, "Only this time. Don't do it again. If I find out that you're selling shoddy goods again, don't blame me for turning against you." The stall owner nodded repeatedly. His back was drenched in cold sweat. How could there be a next time? If I see you again, I won't do business with you no matter how many things you buy. Xiao Chen nodded in satisfaction. Actually, he was just trying to scare the stall owner. He was so short of money now. 150 yuan was a large amount. How could he spend it recklessly? Miss was really something. She forgot everything when she fought with others. Hold on. Sister Sour wants to change too. You can't just give her one and not give me one, right? We're together. Tian Sour saw Cheng Menjing picking the ear studs and quickly went up to him. Okay. I'll give you one too." The stall owner returned the money to Cheng Menjing. He had no choice but to agree helplessly. He couldn't wait for these people to take their things and leave quickly. Anyway, the price of the ear studs was only a few yuan. It didn't matter if he gave them one more pair. As long as he could send this group of plagues away, it was fine. Tian Suruan was very happy. She put on a big smile and stood there picking out the earrings. Unfortunately, there was only one pair of purple earrings on Xiao Chen's hand. In the end, after picking and choosing, she could only choose a dark green one. Humph. How shameless. Following someone else's boyfriend to take advantage of you. Learning to grow white hair from someone else. Following someone else makes you a puppy. Cheng Menjing snorted. Tian Sour rolled her eyes. Hey, how did you know that Sister Sour wanted to take advantage of your boyfriend? It seems that you have the awareness of being a concubine. Tian Sour was not offended. She asked back with a smile. She didn't take Cheng Menjing's mockery to heart at all. You. Cheng Menjing was speechless. She clenched her fists tightly and didn't know what to do. Quarreling with others had always been her weakness. Otherwise, she wouldn't have asked Jean Bebe for help when she couldn't win an argument against Yi Xiaoya. Huh, I'm just kidding. Your loser boyfriend is too ugly. Only a loser like you would like him. Sister Sour doesn't care about him. Don't worry for nothing. Tian Sour said proudly when she saw Cheng Menjing was speechless. You, humph. This is what you said. Don't regret it in the future. Cheng Menjing blurted out such a sentence for no reason. Hee, Sister Sour never regrets it. Tian Sour waved her hand carelessly. Alright, Sour, let's go back to school. We still have classes in the afternoon. Seeing that the matter had come to an end, Su Chuxiao left with Tian Sour. She was afraid that Sour would say something wrong and cause a conflict with Cheng Menjing again. Looking at Tian Sour's back as he left, Cheng Menjing's sullenness disappeared. Instead, she thought proudly, humph. I knew there was something going on between you and Xiao Chen. Now that you said it yourself, let's see what you can do in the future. Xiao Yi, let's go back to school. I don't even have time to go shopping after Tian Sour made a scene. I'm leaving now. Hurry up. Jia Muzhen stood by the side for a long time. Seeing that it was almost afternoon, he hurriedly left after giving some instructions. He was also worried that he wouldn't be able to make it for the afternoon classes. Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing weren't in a hurry. They walked toward the school leisurely. They were arranged to get into the school through their connections. It wouldn't matter if they missed one class. On the way back, Cheng Menjing's expression was a little gloomy. She felt that it was a pity. The purple ear stud was actually quite beautiful. She didn't expect it to be broken. However, it wasn't Xiao Chen's fault. If he didn't do that, she would have spent 150 yuan on a fake for nothing. However, if that thing was sold for 15 yuan, she would still buy it. Here, this is for you. Xiao Chen seemed to have seen through Cheng Menjing's thoughts. He magically took out a box from his pocket and handed it to her. Cheng Menjing looked down. To her surprise, it was the purple ear stud from before. However, it was still intact. Hey! Didn't you break this ear stud? Why is it still fine? Cheng Menjing asked in surprise. She clearly saw Xiao Chen break it with her own eyes. How could it be fine now? Oh, I just used an illusion just now. Didn't you control Tian Sour's mind as well? Xiao Chen shrugged and said nonchalantly. So that's how it is. Cheng Menjing nodded in realization. When she heard the latter part of Xiao Chen's words, she curled her lips and said with a face full of dissatisfaction, "You think I like it? It's all Tian Sour's fault. If she didn't go against me, why would I use my mind power to control her?" Chapter 899. Okay, but we still have to be careful in the future. Although we are cultivators and it is not so easy to be noticed by other cultivators, we are in a special period after all, and it is better to be cautious in everything. Xiao Chen did not mean to blame Cheng Menjing, but simply said a few words. When he first learned the skills of cultivators, didn't he also overestimate himself? Shortly after Xiao Chen and others left, 2 more students came to the jewelry stall. One of them was quite strong and looked like a martial artist, and the other was his follower. Biaozi, what are you playing at? Didn't you say that there are beautiful girls here? Why can't I even see a ghost? As far as the eye can see, it is all dinosaurs and aunties. The strong man was quite dissatisfied and turned to ask his follower. Young Master Wei, how dare I lie to you? I did see two beautiful girls at the barbecue shop just now, and I followed them all the way here. I saw them picking jewelry, so I went back to find you. Biaozi was very puzzled. Could it be such a coincidence? In such a short time, the two girls had disappeared? Hey! Where are the two girls just now? One of them is wearing very revealing clothes and looks quite good. The other one looks like a pure and innocent girl. Do you see them? If you saw them, tell me honestly. Du Rongwei kicked the jewelry stall and asked with a frown. I saw them. They seem to have gone back to school. They just left not long ago. The stall owner was shocked and replied cautiously. The two people in front of him did not look like good people, and he could not afford to provoke them. Damn it! No matter how fast we rush, we are still one step late. Du Rongwei was very dissatisfied, and he kicked the jewelry stall to vent his anger. A lot of small jewelry was kicked to the ground, and the stall owner did not dare to say anything. Biaozi rolled his eyes and said with a flattering face, Young Master Wei, don't worry. This person said that they went back to school, so they must be from Lanqing University. There is only such a school nearby. When I go back, I will inquire about it and report to young Master Wei if there is any news. Well, that's the only way. Du Rongwei nodded gloomily. He was a little disappointed in his heart. Let's go. There are no beauties here. There's nothing to stay in this broken place. Student, our Extreme Karate Dojo has a big promotion. With a VIP card, you can get a 20% discount on your tuition. You can also experience a free class. Are you interested in learning? Du Rongwei turned around and was about to leave when a middle-aged man suddenly blocked his way. He asked with a smile and handed him a golden VIP card. TSK. What extreme karate? It's just a scam. This young master is the president of Lan City University's karate club. Why would I need to learn your rubbish? Du Rongwei waved his hand and slapped the VIP card away. Then, he prepared to leave with a look of disdain. Wait! The middle-aged man picked up the VIP card and called out to Du Rongwei, You're such a coward, and you have the nerve to call yourself the president of the karate club? If you have the ability, let's spar. If you lose, you'll have to go to my karate dojo. F***ck your mother's leg. Du Rongwei flew into a rage. This bastard dared to call him a coward? When had he ever been scolded like this in his life? Before the middle-aged man could finish, Du Rongwei lifted his leg and kicked. Humph. You overestimate yourself. The middle-aged man snorted coldly. He didn't dodge and casually swung his fist at Du Rongwei's foot. Du Rongwei originally had a contemptuous smile on his face. He felt that the middle-aged man was an idiot. The strength of his foot was much stronger than his fist. Wasn't this clearly letting him take advantage of him? However, the moment the fist and foot collided, there was a loud bang. A loud sound rang out, and Du Rongwei felt a sharp pain in the soles of his feet. In the next moment, he was sent flying. Riding on the clouds, he flew backward for several meters, and with a bang sound, he fell into a daze. You! Are you looking to die? How dare you attack young Master Wei? Do you know who the Du family of Lan City is? Biaozi on the side was stunned. When he came back to his senses, he quickly ran to help Du Rongwei up and threatened the middle-aged man with a lack of confidence. Hee, I thought you were really something. I didn't expect you to be so weak. Even a random monkey is better than you. You've lost all the face of karate. The middle-aged man casually patted the dust off his hands and slowly walked toward Du Rongwei. What do you want? I'll admit defeat. Du Rongwei had an advantage. Although he was usually arrogant, once he met someone stronger than him, he would bow his head and admit defeat. He didn't blush and his heart didn't beat fast. He changed very naturally. I have already said that if you lose, you will go to the extreme karate dojo with me and then worship me as your teacher. The middle-aged man crossed his arms and said. He didn't want to embarrass Du Rongwei too much. This guy seemed to have a rich family background. He estimated that he could get a lot of money from him. His karate dojo had just opened and was in need of funds. It would be a waste not to take advantage of a fat duck that came to him. That's it? Du Rongwei was helped up by Biaozi and asked doubtfully. Anyway, believe it or not, it's up to you. The Extreme Karate Dojo is in front. It's up to you whether you want to enter or not. Even if you enter, whether you can learn real skills or not depends on how much sincerity you have. The middle-aged man raised the corner of his mouth and said lightly. Then he turned and walked to the karate dojo not far away. Du Rongwei pondered for a while and followed. He had an almost fanatical obsession with karate. He had been practicing since he was a child. However, after reaching a certain level, he found that he couldn't break through anymore. Now that there was someone stronger than him willing to teach him, he naturally wanted to give it a try. As for the sincerity that the middle-aged man mentioned, Du Rongwei also knew what it meant. It was nothing more than spending more money. Although the Du family wasn't the #1 family in Lon City, they were still well off. Du Rongwei felt that as long as he could break through, it wouldn't be a problem to spend tens of millions. In order to prevent himself from being cheated, he would only pay after he finished learning. When he arrived at the Extreme Karate Dojo, Du Rongwei found that there were quite a lot of people signing up. However, they were all taught by a relatively young man. He followed the middle-aged man all the way into an office. In the office, a red-haired man was leaning on the sofa and smoking. The middle-aged man walked over and whispered a few words to him. Then he pointed at Du Rongwei behind him. The red-haired man nodded after listening. He glanced sideways at Du Rongwei and signaled the middle-aged man to leave first. Sit down and talk. After the middle-aged man left, the red-haired man pinched the cigarette butt and crossed his legs. He said unhurriedly, I'm the owner of this karate dojo. I heard that you know a thing or two. And you're also the president of the Lancheng University Karate Club? The red-haired man was the red-haired man. Last time he caused trouble for Ling Qianxue, he was directly kicked out by Yorishima Kikuo and lost his backing. However, the two ninjas who followed him also offended Ling Qianxue. After they returned with their tails between their legs, they were scolded by Yorishima Kikuo and also kicked out of the Sakura group. After leaving Yidao Kufu, the three of them gathered together with their faces covered in dirt. They were afraid that Ling Qianxue and the Youtiao seller were still in Songning, so they simply didn't go to Songning and directly stayed in Lon City. Because they had lost their source of income, the three of them plotted for a while and decided to do some business in the lively student market to earn some living expenses. They had nothing but martial arts, so in the end, they chose to open a karate dojo. The three of them were very proud. Originally, the middle-aged ninja wouldn't go out to advertise himself, but the advanced class he was in charge of teaching hadn't recruited a single student yet. The student workers who were hired to distribute the flyers still had classes in the afternoon. Seeing that the day was going to be wasted, he had no choice but to go out and distribute VIP cards by himself. He didn't expect to meet a fat sheep like Du Rongwei. I'm ashamed. Although I'm the president of the karate club, I've only learned a little. I'm no match for that middle-aged expert. Du Rongwei didn't know what the red-haired man was planning, but seeing that the middle-aged man seemed to be very respectful to him, he was modest. It seems that you still have some self-awareness. The red-haired man smacked his lips and picked up the cigarette box. When he found that it was empty, he immediately frowned. Upon seeing this, Du Rongwei hurriedly took out a brand new box of premium cigarettes from his trouser pocket and handed it over. He originally wanted to enjoy this cigarette for himself, but now he could use it to serve the red-haired man. The red-haired man took it, lit the cigarette, took a deep puff, and blew out a smoke ring in satisfaction. Not bad, not bad. You're worth teaching. How about this, I can arrange a private advanced karate class for you. It'll be taught by the uncle who just defeated you, and it'll be one-on-one VIP treatment. However, the tuition fee. He didn't continue and only made a, you understand, expression. I understand. I understand. Du Rongwei immediately followed up and nodded. However, although he was a hedonistic son of a rich family, his brain was quite sharp. He rolled his eyes and said, but can I wait until I finish learning before paying the tuition fee? Don't worry, it's not that I don't have money. It's just that this is our first meeting. What if I pay the money and you guys run away? How am I going to explain myself? Of course, no problem. This is also human nature. However, I'll say the ugly words first. You have to pay 100,000 as a deposit first. Otherwise, after you learn it, you'll just leave. Wouldn't our club suffer a huge loss? The red-haired man waved his hand and said casually. Okay. It's only 100,000. I can pay now. Du Rongwei immediately took out a bank card from his arms and called Biaozi, who was standing outside the door, in. Then, he gave the bank card to him to pay. After Biaozi left, he looked at the red-haired man with an urgent face and asked, Boss, when can I start learning? Chapter 900. Sure enough. The red-haired guy gave him a thumbs up. At this moment, he saw the middle-aged ninja standing outside the door and giving him an okay gesture. The red-haired guy knew that the deposit was in his hand, so he said with a smile, since you are so thirsty for knowledge, then we can start the class now. You can go outside and find that uncle. He will tell you how to train in the future. Okay. Then I will go now. Thank you, boss. Du Rongwei stood up and excitedly rubbed his hands. He turned around and ran out the door. After the middle-aged ninja got the red-haired guy's instructions, he took him to an empty classroom to train. Looking at Du Rongwei's excited face, the red-haired guy scratched his chin and felt a little regretful. If I knew this rich guy was so rich, he wouldn't care about 100,000 yuan at all. I should have cheated him of more deposit. Anyway, I don't have to return it in the future. I still reported too little. What a mistake. On the other side, Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing walked to the door of the classroom. The first class in the afternoon had already begun, and it happened to be the ancient martial arts class. Professor Zhong was holding a textbook and explaining the content on the podium with a serious face. Jia Muzhen ran back, so he rushed back to the classroom before the bell rang. As for Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing, they were late. Even so, Xiao Chen still swaggered into the classroom from the back door. However, as soon as he stepped through the door, Xiao Chen felt that two people were unscrupulously looking at him. He didn't need to look up to know that it must be Xing and Ling Qianxue. After all, only the two of them in the class would do this. They probably wanted to observe to see if he was really Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was too lazy to pay attention to them. He didn't even look up. He randomly found an empty seat and sat down. He opened the book and started reading. Cheng Menjing didn't follow Xiao Chen in. Her skin wasn't as thick as Xiao Chen's, so she was a little embarrassed. When he was in Songning High School, he had always been a good student. He had never been late for class. He didn't expect that he would break the rule when he went to college. After hesitating for a while, Cheng Menjing apologized to Professor Zhong with a red face. She then stood outside the door and waited for instructions. There were only a few people in the large classroom. Professor Zhong naturally saw the movement at the back door. He put down his textbook and gestured for Cheng Menjing to come in. He then frowned at Xiao Chen and said, "The male student sitting in the back row, stand up." Xiao Chen looked up and found that Professor Zhong was staring at him. He had no choice but to stand up with an innocent look on his face. Looking at Xiao Chen's expression, Professor Zhong got even angrier and said in a deep voice, "You're Xiao Yi, right?" It was one thing for him to be late for class, but not only did he not show any signs of remorse, he even walked in so brazenly. He was simply disrespecting his elders. Go to the corridor and stand there until the end of class. Oh. Okay. Xiao Chen was stunned. He rubbed his nose helplessly. He didn't intend to explain too much, so he stood up and walked out. He was afraid that if he said too much, Miss Xing and Ling Qianxue, who were paying close attention to him, would notice something wrong. Cheng Menjing, who had just walked to her seat, secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She thought to herself, that was close. Fortunately, I was smart and chose to apologize to Professor Zhong first. If I came in with Xiao Chen, I would definitely be standing in the corridor like a fool. That would be too embarrassing. Young Master Xing, I think that Xiao Yi looks a bit stupid. Is he Xiao Chen in disguise? Do you think we are looking in the wrong direction? Ling Qianxue asked in a low voice as she looked at Xiao Chen, who was obediently standing outside. In her impression, Xiao Chen was an incomparably crafty fellow with a belly full of evil tricks. He was completely unlike this Xiao Yi who was so stupid. Miss Xing shook her head and said, "Not necessarily. It could be Xiao Chen pretending. Don't forget, Xiao Chen was protecting Ling Qianyu and the research facility at Lancheng University. There is a high chance that he is hiding here." Although she said that, Miss Xing couldn't be sure. She was only guessing based on the clues. Xiao Chen had gone to school here before, so Miss Xing put herself in Xiao Chen's shoes and thought about it. She felt that if she was Xiao Chen, she would also choose this place to hide. After all, people liked to go to familiar places. Thus, Miss Xing played a little trick and brought Ling Qianxue to Lancheng University. When she arrived, she found out that Ling Qianyu's dormitory was occupied by a girl named Cheng Yaoyao. Her boyfriend's name was Xiao Yi. Just these two surnames that were too coincidental were enough to make Xingyu suspicious. Not only that, Miss Xing knew that Ling Qianyu was the granddaughter of the Supernatural Investigation Department's chief Ling Tian. Her background was special and she used to live alone. And with her identity, who would dare to arrange for someone to live with her? Therefore, this new Cheng Yaoyao must have used the Supernatural Investigation Department's connections to be able to live with Ling Qianyu. After Ling Qianxue heard this, she immediately felt that it was true. The two of them discussed quietly as they listened to the lecture. Time passed quickly and the class was about to end. However, the two of them still hadn't come up with any countermeasures. They could only helplessly decide to slowly interact with Xiao Yi. After gradually getting familiar with him, they would find a chance to test him. Okay, this class will end here. The content this time is more difficult. If any student doesn't understand anything, you can find other students to discuss it. Class dismissed. Professor Zhong gave a simple explanation. Then, he picked up his textbook and walked out of the classroom. Go in. Be careful next time. When he passed by Xiao Chen, Professor Zhong lectured him before leaving. Oh right, I have an idea. Miss Xing heard Professor Zhong's words and her eyes lit up. She whispered to Ling Qianxue with a sneaky face, "In a while, I will find Cheng Yaoyao to discuss the problem. You go find Xiao Yi, then, This isn't good, right? I haven't done this kind of thing before." After Ling Qianxue heard this, she looked embarrassed, but she didn't know how to refuse. What did Night Island Wakabayashi tell you before? Do you dare to disobey the order? Miss Xing's tone was solemn as she scolded. But Ling Qianxue was in a dilemma. She couldn't speak for a long time. Miss Xing wanted to say more, but when she looked up and saw Xiaochen walking into the classroom, she quickly picked up her textbook and stood up. She didn't forget to say a sentence, remember. I will go and stall Cheng Yaoyao now. No matter what method you use, you must find out if that guy is Xiao Chen. This is an order. After that, Miss Xing pushed away her chair and went straight to Cheng Yaoyao's side. Then, she pretended to be at a loss and asked her questions. At first, Cheng Menjing was shocked. She thought that Miss Xing was here to cause trouble for her, but when she saw Miss Xing take out her textbook and ask a few professional questions, Cheng Menjing's heart finally relaxed. She began to discuss the content of the lecture with Miss Xing. Ling Qianxue's expression was very helpless. She sat in her seat for a while, and finally, a trace of determination flashed in her eyes. She gritted her teeth and unbuttoned her shirt, faintly revealing her firm chest and cleavage. Then, she took a deep breath and walked in the direction of Xiaochen. At this time, Xiaochen didn't notice Ling Qianxue. His gaze was still on Miss Xing, who was discussing the problem with Cheng Menjing. He was quite puzzled. What kind of trick was this Miss Xing playing? She actually wanted to discuss a topic with Cheng Menjing? And she looked quite serious. Did she really think everyone else was a fool? Student Xiao Yi, I don't quite understand the content of the lecture just now. Can I trouble you to explain it to me? Ling Qianxue's cheeks were slightly red. She coyly walked in front of Xiaochen and pretended to ask in a sweet and greasy voice. Seduction, this was the strategy that Miss Xing told Ling Qianxue. Miss Xing believed that as long as it was a man, they would definitely be lustful. Xiaochen was no exception. With Ling Qianxue's beauty and a little seduction, perhaps Xiaochen would fall under her skirt. Then, they could take the opportunity to find out his true identity. Xiaochen looked at Ling Qianxue with a faint smile and said, Student, I was punished to stand in the hallway for an entire class, and you actually came to ask me questions from the textbook. If you're not blind, then you're seriously ill. Ling Qianxue's eyes lit up. He finally understood. That Miss Xing was responsible for holding back Cheng Menjing, and Ling Qianxue was here to probe him. She really put in a lot of effort. But this Ling Qianxue's brain didn't seem to be too good. She even made such a low-level mistake. But the other students in the class seem to be quite cold towards me. I feel that only you seem more enthusiastic and will definitely help me solve the problem. That's why I specifically came to ask you. Ling Qianxue stuttered. In her heart, she was also secretly annoyed. In a moment of panic, she actually forgot about the matter of Xiaochen being punished to stand. But now that things had come to this, she could only brace herself and continue. Otherwise, how could she clean up this mess? It wasn't easy for her to muster up her courage. She couldn't give up halfway. Without waiting for Xiaochen to reply, Ling Qianxue pulled him to sit down. She deliberately leaned her upper body forward and used her black eyes to look at Xiaochen. She said coquettishly, Student Xiao Yi, help me take a look. Maybe you're talented and don't need to listen to the teacher. You'll quickly understand this problem. Pfft. Xiaochen almost burst out laughing. Ling Qianxue was indeed worthy of being a Japanese girl. She was actually so ignorant. Didn't she know that talented had another layer of meaning? However, Xiaochen discovered that after Ling Qianxue made this pose, from his angle, this little girl's cleavage was indeed quite good. Xiaochen admired that deep cleavage and was a bit distracted. He didn't even notice that Cheng Menjing and little Miss Xing had walked up behind him. Xiao Yi, what are you looking at? Isn't it very enjoyable? Cheng Menjing said in a lukewarm tone. Xiaochen subconsciously replied. He suddenly realized that it was Cheng Menjing's voice. He suddenly froze and awkwardly coughed twice. Ahem, classmate Ling, I've researched this problem for a bit. I'm still not too sure. Why don't you ask my girlfriend? She's a good student. She should take notes in class. Chapter 901. Turning his head to look, Xiaofan discovered that Cheng Menjing was glaring at him with eyes that were about to emit smoke. He could only laugh dryly, stand up from his seat, and slowly move away. Speak. What questions do you have to ask? You and your wife seem to have quite a tacit understanding. Both of you have questions. I don't know what you were thinking in class, but you didn't even understand such a simple thing. Cheng Menjing glared at Xiaofan again, took 2 steps forward, and angrily slammed the textbook on the table, making a loud "pa" sound. This gave Ling Qianxue a fright. Just now, when little Miss Xing went to find Cheng Menjing to ask questions, she asked about the contents of the ancient martial arts textbook. Although the contents of ancient martial arts were more profound to ordinary people, as a cultivator, Cheng Menjing quickly understood the main points. Thus, she didn't spend too much time explaining to little Miss Xing. After she finished, Cheng Menjing inadvertently turned her head and saw Xiao Chen's perverted face. His eyes stared unblinkingly at Ling Qianxue's cleavage, which directly made her explode with anger. Ha ha ha. Yao Yao classmate really knows how to joke. Just now, you already explained most of it to me. I can understand it all. In a bit, I'll help my girlfriend and it'll be fine. There's no need to trouble yourself. Little Miss Xing saw that the situation wasn't looking good, so she hurriedly smiled and tried to smooth things over. Oh, that's fine. In the future, if there's anything you don't understand, you can directly ask me. My boyfriend is a bit stupid, and he doesn't pay attention in class. There's no way he can explain anything to you. There's no need to find him. Cheng Menjing didn't force the issue. She picked up the textbook and spoke indifferently. Then, she turned around and walked out. When she passed by Xiao Chen, Cheng Menjing coldly snorted. Xiao Chen didn't say anything and obediently followed behind her, walking out of the classroom. Watching the two of them leave, little Lady Xing and Ling Qianxue looked at each other and felt a deep sense of helplessness. It seemed that this method was not very effective. They could only try harder. After leaving the classroom, Cheng Menjing walked in front with an angry face, while Xiao Chen followed her obediently. He opened his mouth several times but didn't say anything. He didn't know what to say to ease the situation. However, Xiao Chen wasn't too worried. According to the eldest Mrs. Temper in the past, she would probably be fine after a while. Hey, Missy, we've already walked past the girls' dormitory. Where are we going? After walking for a while, they passed by the girls' dormitory, but Cheng Menjing didn't intend to go in at all. She kept walking and went straight to the school gate. Xiao Chen was puzzled and asked. Do you even need to ask? Of course, we're going to the motel to get a room. Cheng Menjing turned her head and roared in exasperation. She suddenly realized that many of the students around her were pointing at her and whispering among themselves. She then realized that she had spoken too loudly. Seeing Xiao Chen looking at her with a dull face, Cheng Menjing could only bite her lower lip and said in a low voice, "Don't think too much. What I mean is, let's go for dual cultivation. As long as we can quickly increase our strength, we won't have to listen to others anymore." Ahem, I wasn't thinking too much. It's all because of your shouting that we attracted so many onlookers. Xiao Chen shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly. Humph. You still dare to quibble? I saw it clearly just now. You stared at Ling Qianxue without blinking. You were almost drooling. Cheng Menjing shouted while glaring at Xiao Chen when she recalled the scene just now. She was infuriated again when she recalled it. Hearing Cheng Menjing's voice getting louder again, Xiao Chen quickly pulled her to a less crowded place. The crowd had just dispersed, and he didn't want to attract another wave of people. Cheng Menjing didn't resist. She just walked and mumbled angrily, "Don't think that I don't know. You definitely want to do that with Ling Qianxue. You men are all bad. You eat from the bowl and look at the pot. You already have me, isn't that enough? This. Missy, you're wronging me. I don't even have anything in my bowl. You never let me eat either." Xiao Chen cried out innocently. Xiao Chen was also quite helpless. What kind of logic was Missy using? He just looked at Ling Qianxue a few times. Did it mean that he wanted to do that with her? It seemed that he did want to. "You are my fiancé. Why do you always stare at other women? If you do it secretly, I won't pursue it. But I was just beside you." Cheng Menjing felt a little wronged when she heard Xiao Jiao's argument. She couldn't help but complain softly, "And you and Yi Xiaoye, Shen Jingxian, Tang Tang, Ke Lin, and Lu Shuangshuang are already together. Why don't you restrain yourself a little? Have you ever thought about my feelings as your fiancé? I've wronged you before, so I turned a blind eye to it. But now, Xiao Chen's heart moved. He put away his previous joking expression. Thinking about it carefully, he did go a little too far. Cheng Menjing was his fiancée, and she was still going through thick and thin with him. Although it seemed that Ma Wuxia was looking for trouble because of the Cheng family, Xiao Chen actually knew that without the Cheng family, Ma Wuxia would still look for trouble with him. The Xiao family, the Quishan faction, and Qi Tian's sect had long been enemies. So, at this moment, Xiao Chen suddenly looked at Missy in a daze. "Yes, what kind of shameful things have I done recently? Isn't it a blessing to have this fiancé who never leaves me and goes through thick and thin with me?" "I'm sorry, Menjing. I'll pay more attention next time," Xiao Chen suddenly said. "What did you say?" Cheng Menjing was stunned. She looked at Xiao Chen strangely. She didn't expect him to say that. Although Xiao Chen used to listen to her every time, it was half-heartedly. In fact, he never really listened to her. And Cheng Menjing also knew that he didn't really like her as his fiancée, so she didn't say anything. But today, nothing. I said it's getting late. Let's hurry to the Express Hotel. Today is Friday. We won't be able to book a room if it's late. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and then walked out of the school gate. Humph. So sneaky. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. Cheng Menjing snorted, but she was very happy in her heart. She was actually very easily satisfied. Even Shen Jingxian could accept it, let alone Ling Qianxue. She was just angry that Xiao Chen messed around in front of her, so it was inevitable that she was in a bad mood. After losing her temper, she felt that Xiao Chen treated her quite well. Especially when Xiao Chen admitted his mistake, she felt a little regretful. Was her request too strict? She couldn't help but want to agree to the relationship between Xiao Chen and Ling Qianxue, but she was afraid that he would take advantage of her. Actually, deep in her heart, Cheng Menjing didn't mind Xiao Chen and Ling Qianxue getting closer. After all, if they could be loyal to Xiao Chen, they would be a great help to him, but with her personality, she wouldn't say these words easily. In the next few days, apart from dual cultivation, Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing went to class and studied. When they had free time, they would wander around with Jia Muzhen. Of course, they would also interact with the two girls, Tian Suruan and Su Chuxia. In fact, the one who took the initiative was Tian Suruan. She kept making excuses to get close to Xiao Chen and the others, wanting to find out about Jia Muzhen's background and life experience. So, she slowly became familiar with both Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing. However, although Jia Muzhen looked ordinary, when faced with all kinds of questions from Tian Suruan, he was very tight-lipped and didn't mention a word about his family. Tian Suruan was also quite helpless when faced with this kind of person who didn't leak anything. But she still didn't give up and continued to wander around them. A cultivator's dual cultivation speed was obviously much faster than other cultivators' dual cultivation. In just half a month, Xiaofan had become a master at the peak of the 7th level of the Golden Core stage. Although Qing Menjing's cultivation speed was slightly slower than Xiaofan's, she also successfully broke through to the 1st level of the Golden Core stage, which was equivalent to the strength of the peak of the 1st level of the Demon King. If this kind of cultivation speed was in the eyes of ordinary people, it was no different from riding a roller coaster. Reaching the peak of the 7th level of the Golden Core stage, Xiaofan had a very definite feeling that as long as he could continue the dual cultivation smoothly, it wouldn't take long for him to reach the peak of the 9th level of the Golden Core stage, or even the perfect stage of the 10th level. At that time, it would not be a problem for him to openly step into the inner martial arts world, let alone take a detour. However, having said that, Xiaofan didn't forget the real purpose of cultivation, which was to find the whereabouts of his father, Xiaofan. He knew that only when his strength reached that height would he have enough capital to talk to the inner martial arts world. It was another weekend. Xiaofan and Qing Menjing's dual cultivation had come to an end. They went out for a meal and then wandered around the student market. As he was chatting with Qing Menjing, Xiaofan's phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and glanced at it. When he saw that it was Jia Muzhen calling, he pressed the answer button. "Xiao Yi, this is Jia Muzhen. Where are you?" Jia Muzhen's voice was a little anxious. "Oh, I'm strolling outside the school with Cheng Yaoyao." "What happened?" Xiaofan heard the other party's eagerness, so he asked directly. "President Dong was sparring with another club this morning. As a result, he was injured and unconscious. He is now in the school infirmary." Jia Muzhen lowered his voice. "What? How could this happen?" Xiaofan frowned and asked in a deep voice. "It's a bit complicated. Can you come over?" Jia Muzhen hesitated and asked. He didn't explain the cause of the matter immediately. "No problem. Wait for me. I'll be there right away." Xiaofan didn't say much. He put down the phone and turned to Qing Menjing. "President Dong was injured. I'll go over to see the situation. Can you go back to the hotel and wait for me?" "How can I do that? I'm also a Demon King Level 1 Master, and I'm also a member of the Martial Arts Club. How can I not be present when such a big thing happened?" Qing Menjing also heard the contents of Xiaofan's phone call. She pulled Xiaofan away from the market and went to the infirmary of Lanqing University. Chapter 902. In the waiting area outside the infirmary, in addition to Jia Muzhen pacing back and forth anxiously, there were 2 martial arts club members sitting there. However, both of them had bruises all over their bodies. It seemed that they were also beaten up. Fortunately, although the 2 of them were bruised and swollen, their bodies were still strong. It seemed that they were fine. "How is President Dong? Which club is he from?" Seeing the closed door of the infirmary, Xiaofan frowned and asked. He thought that the martial arts club in the university would mainly communicate with each other. He didn't expect them to be so ruthless. Aren't they afraid of punishment from the university? His injury is more serious. He is still bandaged inside. Jia Muzhen pointed in the direction of the infirmary, then shook his head and said, "Actually, when I went to the martial arts club to train this morning, I found that the president and 2 members were injured on the ground. I don't know the specific situation. Anyway, it's quite complicated." As soon as Jia Muzhen finished speaking, the door of the infirmary opened. Several people turned their heads and saw Dong Zhiqi staggering out with the help of the medical staff. His head was wrapped in gauze, and his right hand was also in a thick cast. It looked terrible. His injury was much more serious than the other 2 members. After going back, rest well. Don't do strenuous exercise for 3 months to avoid recurrence of old injuries. The medical staff said a few words. Dong Zhiqi nodded and sat on a chair outside the door to rest. You two, come in. The medical staff pointed to the other two members who were slightly injured. The two people quickly followed in for treatment. Senior Dong, what happened? Who hurt you? Xiaofan walked over and asked, I heard that a club came to have a duel. You guys are here too. Dong Zhiqi looked up and saw Xiaofan and Cheng Menjing. He nodded and said, the president of the Taekwondo club brought people over to have a duel. Unfortunately, our skills are not as good as them, it's just a club duel. How did you get hurt so badly? Xiao Chen's eyes fell on Dong Zhiqi's fractured right hand. He felt very puzzled. We didn't have any grudges with them before, right? Dong Zhiqi sighed and said with a helpless face, AI. It's not that we offended them. I heard that the president of the Taekwondo club was defeated by the president of the karate club yesterday. They are still angry. On the surface, they're here to learn from each other, but in reality, they're just trying to save their club's reputation. That's why they've deliberately picked our martial arts club, a pushover. In fact, they just want to save their reputation, so they deliberately picked our martial arts club. Cheng Menjing was so angry that she clenched her fists tightly. If she wasn't afraid of exposing her strength, she would have taught those abominable Taekwondo guys a lesson. I can't help it, I can only blame myself for not being strong enough. If I was as strong as Wang Jingtian, those people wouldn't dare to challenge me so easily. Dong Zhiqi shook his head. He suddenly looked around and asked, huh? And said and fourth. And gi. Nand and fourth and fourth. And. Of Jia Muzin replied. Suddenly, he thought of something. That's not right, President. Weren't you unconscious at that time? How did you know that Wang Jingtian was here? I regained consciousness on the way here and heard his voice, but I fainted again. Dong Zhiqi smiled bitterly, it's fine that he left. Oh, right. Don't you have something else to do? Go and do your thing. You don't have to accompany me. I'm fine. I just need to rest for a few days. But, Senior, are we just going to let this go? They hurt us on purpose. The school should hold them accountable. Jia Muzin said indignantly. Even so, we have no eyes. Even if the school investigates, they won't punish us too severely. After all, we are all martial arts clubs. If I don't accept the challenge, they can't force me, so. Huh. This is. As Dong Zhiqi said this, his expression suddenly froze. He looked behind Xiaofan and the others. Seeing Dong Zhiqi's expression, everyone followed his gaze and looked over. They were so surprised that they couldn't close their mouths. They saw a group of people outside the infirmary. It was the president and members of the Taekwondo club who provoked the martial arts club in the morning. At this time, they were all bruised and swollen. They supported each other and came to the infirmary. Among them, the president was the most seriously injured. He was carried on a stretcher. His arms were hanging weakly, and his face was beaten like a pig's head. Hearing Jia Muzin quietly explain the identity of these people, Xiaofan and Cheng Menjing were also shocked. They thought to themselves, this Taekwondo club is really unlucky. Looking at the situation, they should have been beaten up by other clubs. They just didn't know who did it. To be able to beat up this group of people, it should be a master. However, they didn't have long to wonder. The answer was soon revealed. A familiar figure walked in behind the people from the Taekwondo club. It was the cold man who was in the same class as Xiaofan. He was also the vice president of the martial arts club, Wang Jingtian. With one look, Xiaofan understood that it was Wang Jingtian who beat up the other party. With his standard of a level 3 martial artist, trampling on the Taekwondo club was as easy as stretching. Wang Zhengtian crossed his arms in front of his chest. He was still expressionless. He walked to the side of the stretcher of the president of the Taekwondo club and looked down at him. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Not only did you dare to find trouble with the martial arts club, you even injured our president. Jump again if you have the guts. If you dare to show off in front of me again, it won't be as simple as breaking your arms. You can just wait to go to the hospital and eat your meals. Wang Zhengtian said coldly. The president of the Taekwondo club didn't dare to reply. He could only pretend that he didn't hear it. He turned around and stared at his own club member. The club member understood tacitly and hurriedly carried the stretcher into the infirmary. The group of people from the Taekwondo club also ignored the existence of the martial arts club and rushed into the infirmary. They were about to die of sullenness. Yesterday, they had just been beaten up by Du Rongwei from the karate club, and many of them were injured. Initially, they wanted to go to the martial arts club to regain some face. As the weakest martial arts club in Lancheng University, it was still very easy to take them down. In the end, they didn't expect to be beaten up in less than half a day. Although they were very angry, they were helpless because their skills were inferior, so they could only silently endure it. Vice President Wang, although I know that you are thinking for the sake of the club, it doesn't seem appropriate for you to seriously injure them now. If they complain to the school, I'm afraid you will be expelled, Dong Zhiqi said worriedly when he saw that they were the only ones left outside. Although he knew that Wang Zhengtian was taking revenge for the martial arts club and had good intentions, he was still a little too reckless. Although he was also beaten up, it wasn't that serious. Vice President Dong, you don't have to worry about this. I will take responsibility for my own actions and will never cause you any trouble. Also, these days, I have investigated all the martial arts clubs in the school. I have already dealt with the Taekwondo club, next is the karate club. Wang Zhengtian glanced at Dong Zhiqi and said arrogantly. You. Dong Zhiqi opened his mouth, but he still couldn't say anything. This kid is too arrogant. If both sides were to exchange pointers in a legitimate way, then the school might turn a blind eye to minor injuries. However, Wang Zhengtian's current behavior was considered malicious revenge. Yet, Wang Zhengtian took revenge because the martial arts club was trampled on. This made Dong Zhiqi not know whether to be angry or grateful. Senior Dong, since Wang Zhengtian is so confident, let him go. You don't have to worry too much. Let your injuries heal first. Xiao Chen gently pressed on Dong Zhiqi's shoulder and comforted him. Actually, Xiao Chen didn't care who Wang Zhengtian injured. In fact, he always felt that this guy's identity was a bit suspicious. Although Wang Zhengtian was only a stage 3 inner force warrior, it was very likely that he was hiding his true strength just like he was in the past. Therefore, Xiao Chen had always been cautious, dealing with the myriad of changes by remaining calm. He even planned to find an opportunity to investigate in secret, lest he failed miserably in an easy task. One couldn't blame Xiao Chen for being suspicious. Due to the arrival of Xing Qianxue and Ling Qianxue, he couldn't help but be cautious. Previously at the morning market street, the two girls had only appeared for a few days before Ma Daobao and his men came to kill them. Although he wasn't sure if this matter had anything to do with them, Xiao Chen felt that it was better to be careful. He couldn't easily trust anyone around him. Not bad, this classmate knows how to speak. Wang Zhengtian didn't know what Xiao Chen was thinking. He looked at him with satisfaction and asked, "Oh right, you look a bit familiar. Are you my classmate? Your name is Xiao, what's that?" "Oh, my name is Xiao Yi." Xiao Chen said lightly. "Not bad, that's a good name." Wang Zhengtian nodded perfunctorily. Dong Zhiqi saw that Xiao Chen was speaking up for Wang Zhengtian. He also knew that the matter had already happened. Even if he blamed Wang Zhengtian, it would be useless. He could only sigh and say nothing. Wang Zhengtian glanced at Dong Zhiqi and said casually, "All right, in order to celebrate our martial arts club successfully stepping on those taekwondo trash, as the vice president, I have decided to hold a grand celebration dinner on the second floor of the school cafeteria tonight. I hope everyone can come on time." After saying that, Wang Zhengtian didn't care about the reactions of the people around him and swaggered out of the infirmary. No one knew where he was going. Since Wang Zhengtian had invited them, they couldn't refuse. After all, this was their first gathering since joining the martial arts club, so they could only go together. By the time the other two members finished bandaging, the sky had already darkened. Everyone went directly to the school cafeteria. Chapter 903. Dong Zhiqi didn't really want to go. After all, his right hand was injured, so it was inconvenient for him to eat. Moreover, he didn't really agree with Wang Zhengtian's actions, so it would be awkward to eat with him. However, under Jia Muzin's persuasion, Dong Zhiqi felt that it wouldn't be good if he didn't attend as he was the president. After some hesitation, he agreed to go with them. The group arrived at the second floor of the cafeteria. Wang Zhengtian had already booked a private room and was waiting there. Xing Chui and Ling Qianxue were also there. Kai Zhuwei was also sitting at his seat, reading a secret manual. This scene surprised Xiao Chen. Even he didn't have the contact information of these three people. How did Wang Zhengtian find them? However, after thinking about it carefully, it wasn't strange. As the vice president, it was very convenient for him to find the contact information of the club members. On the contrary, he had never integrated into the martial arts club. Recently, other than going to class, Xiao Chen spent the rest of his time either cultivating with his mistress or eating with Jia Muzin. Behind him were Su Chuxia and Tian Sauer, the two lackeys. He basically didn't have any contact with other people. This university student's life was very boring. Everyone sat down and chatted for a while. Then, the waiter served the dishes. They were all from the same club, so they didn't bother with pleasantries. They picked up their chopsticks and started eating. During the meal, Xiao Chen seemed to be wolfing down the food on the surface, but he was secretly observing Wang Zhengtian's every move. He found this guy quite interesting. Although he looked a little cold, he was a man who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. He knew how to adjust the atmosphere. Thanks to Wang Zhengtian's jesting, the celebration banquet turned into a social gathering. Everyone was in high spirits, laughing and toasting each other. Before they knew it, a box of red wine was finished. After a few glasses of wine, Dong Zhiqi's gloomy face gradually brightened up. He gradually became more talkative and chatted loudly with Jia Muzin. However, most of their topics revolved around Wang Zhengtian. Although there were praise and criticism, they revealed a lot of information. From their conversation, it wasn't hard to tell that although Wang Zhengtian was usually arrogant, he was a very loyal person. After he joined the martial arts club, not only did he buy some training equipment at his own expense, but he also often did all kinds of publicity for the club on campus. In a fit of anger, Wang Zhengtian had even stood up for the guild and challenged the other party. However, Dong Zhiqi still felt that he had been too impulsive. Little Chick Xing didn't care about these things at all. Recently, she had always wanted to get close to Xiao Chen, but she couldn't find the opportunity. It was rare that she could eat at the same table as Xiao Chen, so she naturally had to find a way to get closer. Xiao Yi, we're all classmates. In order to thank your girlfriend for helping me solve my problems, let me give you a toast. Miss Xing stood up and said in a rough voice. Then, she raised her glass and downed it. Recently, Miss Xing had been looking for Cheng Menjing to solve her problems every few days. The reason why she wanted to use a man's appearance was because she wanted to see Xiao Chen's attitude. She wanted to see if he really didn't know her so she could test his true identity. In the end, after asking a lot of questions, there was no progress at all. Little Xing. It's not that I want to criticize you, but those ancient martial arts problems are quite easy. Don't just focus on dating in class. As long as you listen carefully, you will definitely understand. Then, you won't have to bother Yao Yao all the time. Xiao Chen didn't continue the conversation. Instead, he put down his glass and said with a bit of dissatisfaction. I'm not dating either. Little Xing was a bit guilty. Her eyes avoided his as she stammered. Xiao Chen ignored her and said unhappily, "You keep harassing her. You're making it so that I don't even have time to date Yao Yao. If this goes on, I'm going to charge you a consultation fee." With regards to Little Xing's harassment, Xiao Chen was really annoyed. As an expert at the 10th level of the Devil King stage, how could he not know basic ancient martial arts knowledge? She was clearly using this opportunity to find out their identities. However, Xiao Chen also felt that if he let the miss directly reject Little Xing's consultation, this transvestite would definitely come up with other tricks. Therefore, he might as well use the fee as an excuse. He wanted to quote a high price to make Little Xing back off. If she didn't refund him, he would still be able to make a profit, wouldn't he? Little Xing was extremely depressed. This guy was obviously trying to scam her money. At this moment, she even thought that this guy was probably Xiao Chen. Otherwise, why would he be so greedy? After thinking about it, Little Xing could only change her approach. We are all classmates. It's too tacky to talk about money. How about this, I'll treat you guys to a meal as repayment. What do you think? I don't think so. How about I treat you to a meal? As long as you don't bother Yao Yao in the future. Xiao Chen shook his head, turned around, and shouted towards the door, "Waiter, give me a bowl of rice." Not long after, the waiter came in with the bowl of rice. Xiao Chen pointed at it and signaled for it to be placed in front of Little Xing. Then, he smiled faintly and said, "Come, this bowl of rice is on me. You don't have to be polite. Eat it while it's hot." This. Little Xing finally understood what Xiao Chen meant when he said he would treat her to a meal. She was so angry that her head was dizzy. However, she couldn't eat this rice. After eating it, she wouldn't be able to get close to Cheng Yao Yao. Little Xing rolled her eyes and said hesitantly, "This steamed rice is too hard. I don't like it. How about?" However, before she could finish, she was interrupted by Xiao Chen. "Oh, so you like to live off a woman? If that's the case, I'm at my wit's end. You'll have to let your girlfriend think of a way. Maybe after she goes out to play, you'll be able to live off her." Xiao Chen shrugged and said unhurriedly. "You." Little Xing was angry and annoyed. She was about to go crazy. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. She could only use her foot to nudge Ling Qianxue, wanting her to mediate for her. "Xiao Yi classmate, why are you so angry? Calm down." Ling Qianxue drank quite a lot of wine by herself. She looked like she had a lot on her mind. However, after receiving Little Xing's signal, she could only bite her lower lip. She raised her wine glass and said to Xiao Chen, My boyfriend doesn't really know how to talk. This glass of wine is my apology on his behalf. Don't take it to heart." "Oh, it's fine. Just take care of him." Seeing Ling Qianxue, who was sitting next to him, finish the entire glass of red wine in one gulp, Xiao Chen couldn't pursue the matter any further. He could only drink the wine in the glass and say a few perfunctory words. However, just as he finished speaking, Xiao Chen suddenly felt a small hand on his thigh. The slender fingers kept stroking back and forth, slowly moving towards a certain area. Xiao Chen subconsciously frowned. He didn't even need to look to know that it was Ling Qianxue's hand. He didn't know what tricks she wanted to play this time. Helplessly, he could only move a little to the side. However, he accidentally touched Cheng Menjiang's body again. Hubby, you, don't be so inflexible. They only asked me about a few topics. Since I have the ability to answer them, I should help them. Cheng Menjing also drank quite a lot of wine. She vaguely heard the conversation between Xiao Chen and Little Xing, so she drowsily tried to smooth things over. If Ling Qianxue was drowning her sorrows in alcohol because she was vexed, then Cheng Menjing was drinking too much because she had been too tense recently. It wasn't easy for her to find a chance to relax, so she indulged herself and drank a few more glasses. She didn't expect to unknowingly get to her head and speak impudently. Yao Yao, you drank too much. Don't drink any more. Otherwise, when we go back, you will disturb your roommates. Xiao Chen was a little surprised. He didn't think that after the miss got drunk, she would call him hubby in front of so many people. If he didn't hear it with his own ears, it would really be hard to believe. Then let's not go back to the dorm. Let's go to that express hotel, get a room. Cheng Menjing waved her hands and gestured in the air for a while. Her face was completely red as she spoke loudly. Xiao Chen was instantly speechless. He felt especially awkward. He was speechless for a long time and couldn't say anything. After everyone else heard this, they all had an "I understand" smile on their faces. However, they didn't say anything else. After all, they were originally in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship. It was just getting a room. What was so strange about it? There were many university students who did this kind of thing. Ling Qianxue was also a little drunk. Her mind was thinking about how to complete the mission. She vaguely heard Cheng Menjing's words and said, I also want to get a room. During this period of time, Yorishima Kikuo had given Ling Qianxue a death order. No matter what Miss Xing requested, she must unconditionally cooperate. So when she received Miss Xing's order to seduce Ling Qianxue, she was also very depressed. On one hand, she didn't want to take the initiative to seduce Xiao Chen. On the other hand, she was troubled about how to complete the mission. Ling Qianxue, who was in a dilemma, drank a few more glasses at the banquet. She didn't expect that the alcohol would make her even more depressed. Her thoughts weren't very clear and she was only speaking subconsciously. Okay. Cheng Menjing nodded heavily. She stood up and pulled Ling Qianxue's hand. She said, then let's go together. My husband has a discount card for that express hotel. We can save a lot of money if we get a room. Since Cheng Menjing and Xiao Chen had talked before, she wasn't so angry anymore. In addition, Ling Qianxue had been taking the initiative to please her recently, so she also let down her guard. From Cheng Menjing's point of view, if she could have a good relationship with Ling Qianxue, it might not be a bad thing. She might even be able to get some information from them. So when Ling Qianxue wanted to get a room, Cheng Menjing subconsciously agreed. Everyone realized that these two girls were drunk. In addition, they were also a little drunk. They thought that Ling Qianxue wanted to get a room with Xing Gongzi. So, they didn't take their words seriously and began to leave the banquet. In the blink of an eye, only Xiao Chen, Cheng Menjing, Ling Qianxue, and Miss Xing were left. Chapter 904. Aya, why does my stomach suddenly hurt? Little girl Xing suddenly held her stomach and said with a pained expression, Xiao Yi, I might have eaten something bad just now. Please wait for me at the cafeteria entrance, I'll be back soon. After speaking, little girl Xing didn't wait for Xiao Chen to reply and ran towards the washroom. Xiao Chen knew that little girl Xing was definitely playing tricks. There were so many people eating together and everyone was fine, why was she the only one with a stomachache? It was obvious that she was plotting something. However, Xiao Chen could also see that Ling Qianxue was really drunk and he couldn't just leave her alone in the cafeteria. After hesitating for a while, he could only support Ling Qianxue with his left hand and Cheng Menjing with his right. He helplessly dragged the two of them to the entrance of the cafeteria and stood there thinking of a solution. At this time, the evening self-study session had just ended. Many passing students saw that Xiaofan was hugging two girls on each side and started pointing and whispering to each other. When the boys saw this scene, they were naturally very envious. On the other hand, the girls snorted in disdain and rolled their eyes at Xiaofan. Seeing that the crowd gradually increased and Ling Qianxue and Cheng Menjing started talking nonsense again, Xiaofan felt the cold wind for a while and the alcohol started to get to his head. After waiting for a long time and not seeing little girl Xing appear, Xiaofan guessed that she must have slipped away. It was not a good idea to stand here with two drunk girls in tow. In desperation, he could only support the two girls and walk in the direction of the Express Hotel. At worst, he could just get 2 rooms and let Ling Qianxue stay by herself. After dragging the two girls to the hotel, Xiaofan opened 2 rooms under the suspicious gaze of the attendant. Originally, Xiaofan wanted to directly drag the two of them up, but at this time, he realized something. Because Cheng Menjing was drunk, she couldn't use her energy to maintain the illusion on her face and was slowly changing back to her original appearance. Helpless, Xiaofan could only put Ling Qianxue on the sofa in the lobby and drag Cheng Menjing to one of the rooms. As soon as he entered the room, he immediately cast an illusion on Cheng Menjing's face and restored her original appearance. "Oh, it's so hot. Who turned off the air conditioner?" Cheng Menjing suddenly felt that her body was very hot. She shouted discontentedly and began to take off her clothes. Before Xiaofan could stop her, she quickly took off all her clothes and lay naked on the bed. Xiaofan shook his head. He was a little tired and dizzy, which made him want to sleep. However, he vaguely remembered that there seemed to be someone waiting outside, so he stumbled back out. Back in the lobby, Xiaofan once again pulled Ling Qianxue to her room. At this time, he was already a little confused and was only acting subconsciously. Ling Qianxue was also sent to her room. While taking off her clothes, she lay on the big bed and muttered, "Lord Yidao, please rest assured, I will complete the task." Boom. Suddenly, a loud thunder came from outside the window. A bright lightning flashed through the night and illuminated the 2 beautiful naked bodies on the big bed in the room. It turned out that when Xiaofan was in a daze, he actually sent Cheng Menjing and Ling Qianxue into the same room. However, at this time, Xiaofan didn't notice at all. With the last of his consciousness, he closed and locked the door, then relaxed and also staggered to the side of the bed. Xiao Yi, I am scared. Sleep with me, for a while." As soon as Xiaofan staggered to the side of the bed, Cheng Menjing, who was startled by the thunder, suddenly murmured. Then she stretched out her hand and tightly grabbed the corner of his clothes. She pulled Xiaofan to the middle of the big bed and curled up in his arms. Only then did she feel a lot more at ease. Xiaofan, whose consciousness was already blurred, didn't notice the thunder at all. He also didn't know what Cheng Menjing did to him. He only felt that he fell on a soft place and directly fell asleep. Boom! At this moment, a thunderous sound that was even louder than the previous one came from outside the window. Ling Qianxue, who was behind Xiaofan, also turned around and leaned her head on his back. Her hands tightly hugged his waist, and her whole body stuck to his body. She rubbed against him for a bit, and from her mouth, an unclear murmur came out. Outside the window, a heavy downpour covered the sky and covered the earth. The next morning, Cheng Menjing was sleeping in a daze. She felt that the bed sheets near her thighs seemed to be a bit wet. She reached out and scooped it up. Then she squinted her eyes and looked at it. What entered her eyes was a bright red. She was stunned for a moment and suddenly turned pale with fright. Ah! Cheng Menjing let out a heart-wrenching scream and jumped up. When she looked down, she realized that she was completely naked, and Xiaofan, who was beside her, was also completely naked. Most importantly, the bed sheets under her thighs were all stained with red blood. Xiao Chen and Ling Qianxue were awakened at the same time by the scream. After opening their eyes, they saw each other and realized that the two of them were sleeping in each other's arms. After the two of them looked at each other, they immediately separated. Xiao Chen, who realized that something was wrong with the situation in front of him, first subconsciously checked himself. To his surprise, he discovered that he had advanced to the peak of Golden Core Stage Level 9 overnight. Although Xiao Chen didn't know how he had advanced by 2 levels, he didn't even have time to be happy before he realized that his current situation was very embarrassing. Beside him, Cheng Menjing and Ling Qianxue were both naked. There was also a pool of blood on the bedsheets. All these signs indicated that last night, one or both of them, were done by Xiao Chen, but why didn't he feel anything at all? Then, the situation in front of him was a bit strange. Because last night, the two girls drank until they couldn't remember anything, and Xiao Chen also drank quite a bit. Until now, he was still confused and didn't know how he did it with Ling Qianxue. His memory was also intermittent and fragmented. He couldn't piece together the whole thing and didn't know what to say for a moment. Cheng Menjing stared blankly at the blood on the bed. She was completely dumbfounded. She had thought of saving her first time for her wedding night with Xiao Chen, but she didn't expect it to be gone just like that. The most important thing was that it happened in a situation where she didn't even realize it. Woo woo woo. The more Cheng Menjing thought about it, the sadder she became. She couldn't help but cover her body with a pillow and sob in a low voice. Xiao Chen stared at the blood on the bedsheets. He was also very speechless. He didn't have any memory of what happened last night. Opening his mouth, Xiao Chen couldn't say anything for a long time. He wanted to comfort the young miss, but because Ling Qianxue was there, he didn't know where to start. In Ling Qianxue's eyes, the two of them were boyfriend and girlfriend. Since that was the case, wasn't it normal for something to happen? The situation was unclear now. If he spoke rashly, it was very likely to arouse Ling Qianxue's suspicion. Yao Yao, don't cry. Ling Qianxue was a girl after all. Seeing how sad Cheng Menjing was, her first reaction was to comfort her. Woo woo woo. Cheng Menjing cried even louder. At this time, any comfort would be a catalyst for tears. Ling Qianxue was actually quite confused. She remembered that Cheng Yaoyao and Xiao Yi were a couple. Also, the two of them often went out to get a room. How come Cheng Yaoyao was still a virgin? Could it be that Cheng Yaoyao didn't agree to do that with Xiao Yi? Ling Qianxue, who thought she found the crux of the problem, changed her method of comfort. Yao Yao, don't take it easy. Don't you and Xiao Yi often get a room? It will definitely come to this step sooner or later. Don't be so sad. Woo woo. How can that be? Although the two of us often get a room, we are both dual cultivators. It's not as dirty as you think. Cheng Menjing's face was full of annoyance as she said while sobbing. Right now, her mind was completely focused on the matter of losing her first time. Hearing Ling Qianxue's words, she subconsciously took out the facts to refute. She didn't even consider that she said the wrong thing. Xiao Chen, who was on the side, couldn't stop her in time. He helplessly slapped his forehead and felt a headache coming on. Missy was really crazy. She didn't look at the situation at all. How could she tell Ling Qianxue about dual cultivation? This was basically confessing without being pressed. However, at this moment, when Xiao Chen saw Cheng Menjing's sad look, he couldn't blame her. He could only comfort her together with Ling Qianxue. Yao Yao, it's okay. Just like classmate Ling said, since I am your boyfriend, this kind of thing will happen sooner or later. Anyway, I definitely won't abandon you. Don't cry. Ling Qianxue saw that Xiao Yi took over to comfort Cheng Yaoyao. She wanted to put on her clothes first and then go comfort her. Ugh. Just as she moved, Ling Qianxue suddenly let out a low moan of pain. She felt waves of pain coming from a certain part of her body. Ling Qianxue was stunned for a moment. She looked at the blood-stained bed sheet and then looked at Cheng Yaoyao, who couldn't stop crying. The expression on her face suddenly became very interesting. She had already realized that she had lost her first time for no reason at all. Seeing Cheng Yaoyao immersed in sadness, Ling Qianxue didn't know what to say for a moment. After being stunned for a long time, Ling Qianxue finally said in a low voice, "Yaoyao, don't cry." "That. I think I was, You. What did you say?" Cheng Menjing was stunned at first. After a while, she understood what Ling Qianxue meant. In other words, the person who was really injured was Ling Qianxue? Cheng Menjing moved her body slightly. Then, tears gathered in her eyes. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She suddenly remembered that she had heard before that after a woman's first time, she would feel uncomfortable for a long time. But when she felt it just now, she didn't feel any discomfort. It seemed that she was scared silly before. When she saw the blood near her thigh, she immediately thought that Xiao Chen had done that to her. That was why she broke down. In the end, she made a big mistake. While feeling lucky, Cheng Menjing's heart was a little disappointed. Chapter 905. She understood Xiao Chen very well. Although Ling Qianxue had suffered in her place, with Xiao Chen's personality, it was unlikely that he would just treat it as a wet dream and let it go. Their relationship was bound to be even closer in the future, and Xiao Chen would definitely be responsible for Ling Qianxue. Cheng Menjing, who was thinking a lot, suddenly heard a faint sobbing sound. She looked up and found that it was Ling Qianxue who was silently crying. Don't cry. Haven't you been seducing Xiao Yi? Since you've achieved your goal, why are you still crying? I didn't mean to blame you." Cheng Menjing was shocked and didn't know how to comfort her for a while. Now, the situation seemed to have been reversed, but the identities of the two people were as different as heaven and earth. I wanted to seduce him, but I didn't want to give myself to him. Besides, I'm still a virgin. How could I do this with Xiao Yi? Whoa. The more Ling Qianxue spoke, the more wronged she became. She couldn't help but burst into tears. Cheng Menjing was speechless after hearing this. She wanted to say something to comfort her, but she didn't know what to say. In desperation, she could only give Xiao Chen a look, which meant that he was a heartless guy. This is his own trouble, so think of a way to solve it yourself. Xiao Chen was also stunned. Seeing Cheng Menjing give him a look, he came back to his senses. Looking at Ling Qianxue who was crying, he felt very guilty. He could only walk over and gently hold her in his arms. He softly comforted her, "Okay, don't cry. I'll go ask Chief Ling for your hand in marriage, and then I'll help you get rid of that Night Island guy. That way, you can regain your freedom." Under Xiao Chen's comfort, Ling Qianxue finally stopped crying, although she still couldn't get over it. But her tears were still flowing, and she sobbed from time to time. Seeing Ling Qianxue like this, Xiao Chen felt guilty and helpless. After a while, he suddenly thought of something and said, "Don't be too sad. And that lady boy named Xing, you don't need to listen to her anymore. If she dares to cause you trouble next time, tell me and I'll beat her to death." Now that he had reached the peak of the 9th level of the Golden Core stage, Xiao Chen was confident. He didn't need to be afraid of Xing Qianxue or anyone else. Cheng Menjing frowned. Looking at Xiao Chen's shameless words, she couldn't help but secretly rolled her eyes and despised him in her heart. If you want to comfort me, then just do it properly. Why do you have to pretend to be a big shot? Saying that you want to turn Night Island upside down and beat up the little girl to death. Even if you want to please Ling Qianxue, you don't have to do this, right? Let's see how you're going to deal with her when she really comes to kill you. You're really Xiao Chen. Ling Qianxue, who was in Xiao Chen's arms, finally caught the main point of his words. She suddenly raised her head and widened her eyes in surprise. She asked in disbelief. If Xiao Yi was really a passerby, a loser classmate in her class, then Ling Qianxue would really be heartbroken. However, if Xiao Yi's real identity was Xiao Chen, then her heart suddenly didn't have that much unwillingness and sadness. Yes, otherwise how would I know that you're the granddaughter of Bureau Chief Ling and that you're Ling Qianxue under the Sakura group? Xiao Chen nodded. Now that things had come to this, he didn't want to hide it anymore. During that period of time, he had already made his own decision. First, Xiao Chen planned to instigate Ling Qianxue to become his spy beside Xing Qianxue. Second, now that he was at the peak of the 9th level of the Golden Core stage, he didn't need to be afraid of Xing Qianxue anymore. Even if his identity was really exposed, it wouldn't be a big deal. Oh, I believe you. Since you're Xiao Chen, then my task is completed. Ling Qianxue stood up with difficulty. As she put on her clothes, she said with a sad expression, then I'll go back first. Child Xing is still waiting for me. I still have to report to Master Yi Dao. Hey! Are you stupid? Why do you still want to find Yi Dao? Seeing Ling Qianxue's reaction, Xiao Chen was stunned and asked in surprise. Xiao Chen felt it was incredible. What was Ling Qianxue thinking? Even at this point, he was still so unrepentant. Could it be that he had been brainwashed too deeply? As a senior ninja of the Sakura group, I must listen to Master Yi Dao. This is the glory of the ninjas of Japan. Ling Qianxue said naturally. She had been trained in the Sakura group since she was a child, so it was difficult for her to change her mind in a short time. After knowing that the person in front of her was Xiao Chen, Ling Qianxue's first reaction was that her task was completed and she needed to report to Master Yi Dao. I'm going to faint. Facing such a stubborn girl like Ling Qianxue, Xiao Chen also had a headache. He rolled his eyes and suddenly thought of another trick. Clearing his throat, Xiao Chen said sternly, "Why did I hear that after a woman in Japan becomes someone's wife, she even has to change her surname? And she has to obey her husband absolutely. As my woman, why do you care so much about the Sakura group? I don't think you're right." Xiao Chen also knew that Ling Qianxue was affected by her inherent ideas and it was difficult to change them in a short time, so he needed a bigger shock. Ah! Ling Qianxue was stunned and suddenly struggled in her heart. Xiao Chen seemed to be right. What should I do? Damn it! Why are you hesitating? As your husband, I order you to break up with Yi Dao immediately. Xiao Chen pointed at Ling Qianxue and shouted fiercely. He didn't want to do this, but he couldn't think of any other way except to speak harshly. Ling Qianxue's expression kept changing. It was obvious that she was struggling fiercely in her heart. That's enough, Xiao Chen. That's enough, right? Ling Qianxue had no choice. Why are you angry at her? She's so pitiful, can't you say something nice to comfort her? Looking at Xiao Chen's rude behavior, Cheng Menjing couldn't help but frown. She remembered that Xiao Chen used to have a good temper. Did he eat the wrong medicine today? You. Missy, I remember that you didn't treat Yi Xiaoya like this before. Why do you suddenly sympathize with Ling Qianxue now? Xiao Chen asked with some surprise. He really didn't expect that Missy would actually speak up for Ling Qianxue. Women were really fickle. TSK, Yi Xiaoya was being cheap, but Ling Qianxue had no choice. How can it be the same? Cheng Menjing said confidently. Back then, not only did Yi Xiaoya seduce Xiao Chen, but she also went against her, so Missy never had a good impression of her. Xiao Chen was speechless. He felt that he really couldn't keep up with Missy's thinking, so he simply stopped arguing with her. Xiao Chen, what you said just now seems to make some sense. Let me think about it first. Ling Qinshue's suddenly wiped away the tears on her face and said. Ling Qinshue's feelings towards Xiaochen were very complicated. Thinking back to the past after they met, and how she inexplicably became his woman last night, Ling Qinshue's heart was suddenly in a mess. At this moment, she suddenly didn't want to harm him. However, she had served the Sakura group for so many years, and it wasn't so easy to leave it. She knew very well that the organization had very strict discipline. Those who left without permission would not have a good ending in the end. Alright, then take your time to think about it. I'll go out and buy you some breakfast first. Xiaochen didn't force it. He waved his hand and gave Cheng Menjing a look. He put on his clothes and walked out the door. Cheng Menjing received Xiaochen's gaze and glared at him. However, she still nodded. She knew what Xiaochen meant. He wanted her to help sway Ling Qinshue's mind and make her choose to stand on his side. Cheng Menjing naturally knew the importance of instigating Ling Qinsue to defect. If Ling Qinsue could hide by little girl Xing's side, then in the future, she would be well informed, so this was a very important task. As soon as Xiaochen went down to the lobby of the hotel, he saw young Master Xing wandering around the hotel, as if he was waiting for someone. Seeing this scene, Xiaochen's heart moved. He deliberately poked his head out and sneaked out from the side door of the hotel. Although Ling Qinsue already knew his true identity, he didn't plan on telling little girl Xing for the time being. After all, he didn't know this little girl's character very well. He also didn't know why she kept following him. Hey! Xiao Yi, have you seen my girlfriend? As expected, little girl Xing saw Xiaochen's purposeful hiding. She immediately shouted and chased after him, asking anxiously. She's... Oh, no. I don't see her. Xiaochen nodded, then immediately shook his head. His expression was a little panicked as he spoke incoherently. You don't see her? Are you for real? Didn't you guys get a room together last night? Why didn't you see her? Little girl Xing squinted her eyes and carefully looked at Xiaochen, asking suspiciously. No. I didn't see her. Xiaochen shook his head like a rattle drum. Little girl Xing's tone was suspicious. Last night, I went to the washroom. When I came out, I realized that you and my girlfriend were both gone. Why isn't she with you? Last night? No. I was drunk last night, so I don't remember anything. I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving first. Goodbye. Xiaochen randomly said a few words and turned to leave. Wait. Little girl Xing grabbed Xiaochen's arm and frowned. Tell me, did you do something to my girlfriend? Tell me the truth. Looking at Xiao Yi's panicked expression, how could little girl Xing believe his words? And last night, she was hiding in the dark and clearly saw Xiao Yi bring Cheng Yaoyao and Ling Qinsue into this hotel. This brat was obviously lying. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.